Welcome to Spelunkers, a place for video games and nerd culture, and this is the Game Exploration Show, or at least half of it. Half of us split off to cover Resident Evil Village, and they finished that off last week. Chris, Tyler, with guests Dory and Rob. I, Ryan, am back with Tom.
Hi.
Travis.
It's me.
And James.
Hello.
To discuss the last part of Death Stranding.
I just realized I didn't get my porter rank to 300 before we did this, and I'm like very upset with myself.
It's about to be playing throughout the recording of this
No,
podcast.
I'm not. I would why would you say that? I would never do that.
That never happened before.
You know, I had actually thought about that instead of having the picture in the middle and just put the game capture of me just like running around as we're talking. I decided not to do that.
I
Maybe
could
a
do
different
that.
game in the future.
No camera for me. I'll stream my screen. That won't mess up all the cropping at all.
All that setup will be worth it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We are back to discuss everything after Chapter 8, all the way up through the multiple credits of this game. Does anyone? So what are our general thoughts on the last half of this game here, James?
Lots of credits. A lot of credits.
Yeah, an excessive amount, some might say.
They'll keep coming. I believe is the message that the credits want to impart. They say, "I'll keep coming."
Actually, to jump the gun on that a little bit, there was the question on the last episode about what our favorite song was, low roar song.
Mm-hmm.
That is now my favorite low roar song.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I enjoyed the freedom so much and like the kind of meandering to and from, the basically rest of the game is not that at all.
Yeah, this last chunk's pretty linear.
It's pretty linear. There's a lot of cutscenes. I mean, a lot of like story reveals and stuff that are somewhat interesting, but really the first half is really what made me love the game. This second half is just kind of there, and calling them halves is kind of Ryan, you played the rest of this game in one sitting. You played this chunk that we'll be talking about here in one sitting. So
My God.
Yeah, I started one Sunday morning, and it just it got after a particular rather large boss fight. After that moment, I was just like, "Oh, what's next?" And it kind of pushes you to keep going.
Yeah, you don't get a chance to save
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah.
I the first time I played it, I had that issue of I thought it was going to end, and it was about midnight. So I thought, okay, I'll keep playing a little more, and wrap this up. And then I was up until at least 2 a.m.
And then Die Hardman is giving you his speech, and you're like, well, surely now it's got to be just about over.
And you would be wrong.
You'd be wrong.
Yeah, it just keeps coming. Tom?
Horrible Mario, quote.
Not
even
Princess
quote.
Peach, Princess Beach.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, since we brought it up now, let's just read lovely Dory's question. In what way did the line, "I'm your Princess Beach," change your life? James, you did correct Dory. Like Mario in Princess Beach is the actual line.
Yeah, because the context behind that is she's talking about actually I forgot. It's so dumb. I've already forgotten the context.
It's basically she's saying Sam is you're telling me my princess is in another castle is what he's trying to say when he says it. And Sam says, "So what? I'm Mario and you're Princess Peach." And then they talk a little bit more, and then Amelie says, "I'm Princess Beach. I'm your Princess Beach." So it's bad.
Yeah.
It's
This is the line that made me decide once and for all that Kojima is not good at writing dialogue.
dude.
Someone
No,
needs to
that's
stop this man.
that's the thing. See, I'm more on Ryan's side there, in that he like needs a stronger like editing hand. Although, like, he is so much of Die Hardman's dialogue, like, is just like kind of wooden, and so like it really starts with that.
Yeah.
Take the first step, Sam, and burn the president's body.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I do wonder how much of that just comes down to the fact that Kojima doesn't speak English.
Mm.
Because I mean that could very well be a factor.
yeah.
Because it seems like he writes these games with English, like in English, with English in mind.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
Yep.
mean, specifically this one, like, for sure, because it's all actors who act in English. Not, Mads
Yeah.
definitely, and I think Leah Seydoux also act in French and Swedish, but we are familiar with them as people who speak in English. And so,
Norman
yeah.
acts in Redis.
Yeah, and with his funky fetus, absolutely. Lou.
All right. Well, I guess now that we've got general thoughts out of the way, let's dive into it. So we're leaving Hartman's place. We've got deliveries for the paleontologist and the geologist. We're bringing some anti-chiralium medication to the geologist, as he's been starting to have some terrible nightmares, which is just chiralium infection. Is that it?
Yeah.
Should get
Yeah.
that man some Ambien.
Well, we got to make sure it's actual medication, Tom, because apparently it goes into a suicidal stage that we're glad we stopped. And he gives us level 2 climbing anchors, so now we can carry 5 in one box instead of 3, which is very nice. For James and myself, at least. I know Travis just could not care.
never once used those. I didn't use a climbing anchor after the first, like, I even carry one after like the first 10 hours of the game or something like that.
I did only because I went back to the collector, which I had not gone before, so I had to use the climbing anchor to get down.
Oh,
the hole.
there was a nice one there for me for sure.
Oh, okay.
The collector, yeah, you got that backpack cover.
Mhm.
Did you get the backpack cover?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice to have before you do the mountains. It's really nice to have before you do the mountains.
What was even more dumb is I ran around for the longest time trying to do the Cyberpunk missions, which are only on PC. Which after running around forever, being like, where the hell are these stupid missions? And I looked it up, like, oh, they're only on PC.
Also, the Half-Life missions.
No faster motorcycle for Tom.
Get wrecked, Tom.
Yeah, fuck it. Just drive trucks off cliffs. It's more fun.
I did quite a bit of falling off cliffs after I rolled credits and went back to do side content, and I would like be watching a YouTube video while just walking straight, and all of a sudden my controller starts vibrating. I look over and car goes everywhere, Sam's on his face. Things are going poorly. So we deliver that for the geologist. We then head to the paleontologist. We have an antimatter bomb to deliver to him to break through some hard rock to continue research.
I actually I don't know if any of you sort of had this experience, but weirdly enough, carrying an antimatter bomb is quite relaxing. Ironically so, just because it makes you sort of slow down and sort of not rush, you know.
I
definitely blew that thing up.
Me too.
Yeah, I didn't blow it up, but I didn't slow down.
I forgot I had an antimatter bomb on the back of me and fell off a good-sized cliff and black screen load save. It's like, well,
That's not what you want.
That's what would happen, though. I mean, if you blew up an antimatter bomb, you'd just load your most recent save.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. You'd have a couple prompts pop up in your revision.
If I blew up an antimatter bomb, I would simply
Reload the save. I don't know why it would be so good. And then we get level 2 hematic grenades and oxygen masks. And we get sent on a trip to visit the VOG mandatorily for the first time. which is why we get that oxygen mask to retrieve, what is it?
Stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. There is a lost package of a weird fossil that had an umbilical cord on an animal that did not give birth using an umbilical cord.
Yeah, it's a very important fossil to actually the rest of the game. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is the first time, like one of the first times that what you think is just like just deliver some stuff is actually deliver this super important stuff actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, extremely. So we retrieve that lost package and deliver it to the Evo Devo biologist. And while we're on the way there, recover something from the BT area for Hartman. We collect those materials. Did you all sneak in or fight your way in?
I tried to sneak in, and there's a lot of BTs in that crater. So I tried cutting of their cords.
Mm-hmm.
But then I there was one up on a rock, so I went up to cut its cord, and the prompt to cut its cord didn't appear. So I kept walking up to it, and then it caught me.
Oh no!
And that crater is a nightmare. I hate that crater. Also, I don't know if did any of you notice there's a huge BT in that
Yeah.
crater, like bigger than all the
Yeah.
other ones. What's
Mhm.
up with that?
I'm not sure. I saw one other one at the ruined warehouse somewhere between like the Craftsman and the incinerator over by Lake Knot. There's another one of those extremely large BTs, and as far as like you probably shoot them, but like the bola gun has no effect. I didn't
Takes a
spawn
lot of grenades.
Did you just try throwing the antimatter bomb at him?
I didn't think of that. Well, wait, aren't BTs antimatter already? Would it do anything?
I don't know.
Mm.
You're gonna have to reload it and try.
Find
you have
out.
to play over again, get back to that spot. Don't turn
Alright.
it in, but run to the crater with the antimatter bomb.
I
and
mean, I
zip
don't
it.
know. If I remember correctly, this game's save system is incredibly robust. Like, it keeps so many auto saves for you to go back to.
good.
I believe. Like,
I never even checked.
oh yeah, like tons.
I never really had to check, so I haven't looked.
But the bit where you have to deliver is it ammonite or something?
Yes,
Like
yeah, it's an ammonite fossil.
that? Where you have to deliver that. Where you find out you have to deliver that to the other biologist.
Mm-hmm.
There's some line that the person says to you about it being too dangerous for the biologist to go and get it herself. And I was just thinking, like, it's nice how the game sort of shows the importance of delivery people in like a way where it's like Sam's not the one doing the important research that's gonna, save humanity from a Death Stranding or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if he didn't do his job, they wouldn't be able to do that research.
Right. Yeah, like nothing gets done without the porter in between.
Yeah.
They can only do so much without those extra materials. Even like he brings them the tools to facilitate the research. All those little things. It's a good emphasis. Like it does help make like all these hours you've spent delivering goods feel very important. When you have those moments in this game.
100%.
Right. I went in. So it spawns 2 of the big lion squid things if you just go in head first there. So that was actually a pretty. I don't even want to say tough, but it was definitely a harder fight than the rest.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
pretty sure I ran out. I spawned them and then ran out to clear the area.
I just threw grenades like a madman.
I think I had a similar problem that Smithy had, but it didn't not appear, but I was getting close, and then as I went to hit square, I must have just been out of range, and then I just threw a punch, and then they just see you anyway, so it's like, oh, fuck. Which has happened to me several times, where just somehow I get just out of range, and I hit the button, and I just swing a package or my arm instead, and it's like, oh, fuck.
See, that's why I bullet gun them first. I can run right up and cut the cord.
Bullet gun for life.
Yeah, bullet gun's so good.
I'm
Um,
reckless. I just run in.
So we bring everything to the Evo Devo biologist. We get a grenade launcher, which my thought was, we get a grenade. What do we need a grenade launcher for? Oh boy. She goes on about genetic modifiers, how some species survive extinction events and others don't. Some genes have special evolution code, or some have an extinction code, and she's like researching the tar to find out more about that. As we're leaving, Heartman calls us again, tells us we need to see him at his place. So we head that way. His research on Mama's body has found copious amounts of chiralium in her to the cellular level. Her baby BT was a special piece of Mama. Still, her Ha was a special piece. Oh, I'm not sure what my note means there. I remember that her BT was some weird connection between, it was the umbilical cord. Because we find out when we first dropped off Mama's body, there was an extra thing that wasn't on the sheet that Heartman searched for and picked up.
Which is an umbilical cord, but not Mama's.
No,
Not Mama's, no. A piece of Bridget Strand's umbilical cord.
not the mama.
Of all things. Yeah, very much not a Mama, as we come to find out.
Yeah,
This game is weird.
Yeah, it was Bridget's. It was on Bridget's corpse. Like when it's not like something that was saved from when she had a child, which
Right.
she did.
She just like to chew on it from time to time. It's like jerky.
But I do have a note here mentioning that Mama's Ha and Ka failed to separate totally, which I think points back to my whole, that was her Ka like trying to pull the baby away.
Well, I thought they said that the baby itself was her Ka.
Was that it?
Yeah, that
Maybe.
baby BT was actually her Ka.
Okay.
And that's why her Ha was physically dead.
But all unfortunate things regardless.
Yeah. I have
yeah.
a couple of notes actually while we're here with Heartman. I have a couple notes on him. What did you guys think of the fourth wall breaks, where he looks towards the camera and does the thumbs up?
I'm a fan.
That was funny. Like it wasn't like ridiculous, but
If more
It's okay.
characters had done it, it probably would have felt
yeah.
overwhelming. But just Heartman doing it a handful of times, I'm like, all right, I got you, Heartman.
Okay. Fair enough. Also, I don't know if any of you have any medical expertise, but surely Heartman's heart being stopped and started several times a day must have some kind of wear and tear effect, right?
I would imagine.
Most definitely, yeah. Like, even if it's not a wear and tear effect on the heart, like that's 3 minutes. The rest of his body's not being brought oxygen, right?
Yeah.
So what's that doing to his brain, to his muscles? I know the general rule of thumb is you can survive 3 minutes without air, but if you're doing it that consistently, that's got to cause small amounts of damage. And the first time we meet him, he says he's done it like 218,000 times, something like that, like just a crap load. So that's got to add up over time.
Maybe he's just we're all just actually in the Matrix, and they're not breathing anyway.
That must be it.
Okay.
I could see it.
Okay. All right. This is I just found this. So, I don't know if y'all wondered when they showed the Mama scene in the hospital. Wondered why she didn't like age from the time fall. That was because she was already a corpse at that time, and that's why her body was so filled with chiralium from consuming all the time fall during that.
Yeah, she was dead the whole time.
She was dead the whole game. Yeah.
I guess my thought was that she wasn't getting directly rained on. It was like raining on a roof and then dripping into her mouth, so the time fall was affecting that piece of roof and not her, was how I was rationalizing it prior.
Me too, but this makes more sense.
That makes a lot more sense, yeah.
Speaking of Timefall,
Mm.
if the flask that you carry automatically collects Timefall and converts it into monster energy, does that mean that monster energy has the same ingredients that are found in Timefall?
No, I don't think so, because if like once Timefall got into rivers, right? Like I would it seems like once it hits the ground or like, kind of pools, that it loses its timefalliness. Is how I always interpreted it.
It's aging property. Yeah, because you don't age your cargo walking through a deep river, right?
Because like if you could collect timefall and then use it like use it to water crops with, I feel like they would have figured that out a long time before the timefall farm, right?
Yeah.
Does that, like,
True.
if you had timefall barrels?
Okay.
And you could like also do like little drops of timefall on wounds to heal them quicker,
Every
if
time you
could
keep
just
saying
collect it like that.
Timefall, all I keep hearing is the James Bond song in my head.
No,
No, not that.
The
actual one, though.
But timefall.
Yeah, so between the umbilical cord and everything, Hartman is composing a theory. Says it's not complete, but it's a start. So he starts off with the obvious, what we've been piecing together over these last few connections, that there is some form of connection between beaches and associated phenomenon and extinction level events. He believes we are in the middle of a 6th extinction event, talks about the previous big 5. So these umbilical cords that are appearing in animals that normally don't have them are strands from the other side. So that ammonite fossil we found that has an umbilical cord, and wonders if they weren't frozen, but frozen in time, the way Mama's corpse is. He shows us pictures of like that ammonite, a mammoth, and a human all having very similar fossilized umbilical cords from like the photographer's photos and other research found from the scientists in the area. And he believes that the mammalian use of umbilical cords evolved from these umbilical cords from the beach. That these entities with strands are directly connected to Death Stranding events, that they're extinction entities, and that Bridget and Amelie may be extinction entities, and that might be the reason Higgs wants her, as opposed to the reason the Homo demons were keeping her hostage from the beginning of the game. Regardless, Hartman isn't convinced one EE could cause a Death Stranding. We still need to rescue Amelie, though. So what do we think about these EEs? And, like, this is where the game really starts to turn the weird dial up, I feel like.
I feel like it's tough to talk about how you
Yeah.
what a bit with the knowledge of like the rest of the game.
Yeah, without the ending. Yeah, at this point we're just like, what's an EE? And it's all very confusing. More proper nouns. So
that's capital E, capital E.
It's actually just the Entertainment Expo. Just stop right there. It's not E3.
Electronics.
Yeah.
Come to the beach for my Entertainment Expo.
Fantastic. So it's now time to finish construction on a site near the tar belt that was abandoned during Bridges 1 for a better location. So there's a foundation there that we can use as like another piece of the chiral network. We walk through a bunch of terrorist territory as we make our delivery to the relay.
Which I took out this entire camp by throwing cases at them.
Oh.
Which
those
was
terrorists,
a lot of fun.
Those terrorists really caught me off guard, because I was expecting BTs, but I didn't see any terrorist areas on the map. So
I drove my bicycle.
It also caught me rather off guard as I was kind of like walking at the bottom of 2 cliffs. I was in a little crevice through this area when the mule scan went off. I'm like, mules? whatever. I doubt they'll find me down here. And about 20 seconds later, I'm being shot in the back by 4 terrorists and shot in the front by 3 more. It was hectic, but I didn't get killed, at least.
Did you bullet gun the crap out of him?
I bullet gunned the crap out of him. That's exactly right.
It's interesting, though. We were talking a little bit about, before we started, about Sam, about Norman Reedus' performance, and Sam and everything. While I was walking to this next objective, I took note of those little lines of dialogue that Sam says to himself while he's out walking. One of the ones that I noticed was when he was walking along a cliff face, almost. He was saying, talking about the falling rocks, hoping that one of them would hit him. And I was just thinking, it feels like a really well executed character building tool to have him say these sort of things, like talk to himself as he's walking, like you would in real life if you're sort of walking by yourself for a long time, maybe. Which kind of seems at odds with the fact that the game clearly doesn't want you to think about Sam as a character very much, because he's got that same thing that Snake had in Metal Gear Solid 5, where he doesn't talk a whole lot. He feels more like a vessel for the player.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't, in comparison to a lot of other characters, have a lot of lines.
Well, because the other characters, you got to listen to 45 minutes of cutscene.
Yeah. Sam's listening as much as we are. I never got that line in particular, but I definitely took note of all the times he little things to himself. Oh, gotta keep going. Almost ate it there. All those little things, and that's definitely something that I would do. It does help make Sam feel like a very real character.
I think it was more noticeable in the last half when you didn't have Lou, and he kept trying to talk, and then he's like, "Oh," and he kind of stops himself because he's trying to yeah, that's right, you're not here right now. I'm fucking crazy.
Yeah, those were little minor heartbreak moments, honestly, when he would try to talk to a non-existent Lou. Yes. Okay. So now we have to figure out a way through the tar belt, and the game does not immediately give you
who killed themselves a bunch trying to just walk across the water.
I think I did that on my first playthrough.
Yeah, 3 times before I started to stop and think about it.
Oh, I looked it up.
There's a BT area.
Yeah, I kept killing the BT, so I was like, oh. Then I looked it up. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just do that.
Oh, see, for me, it's because I spent so much time getting dragged and then running out on purpose. It was oh, yay! I'm well practiced for this. I brought my speed skeleton. I knew what I was coming into, so I got the speed skeleton and just whomped my way through.
I mean, honestly, the biggest compliment I could probably give this game is the fact that I went to puzzle sort of parts of the game like this and instantly remembered what I had to do for my first playthrough, which sort of speaks to how memorable a lot of these puzzles, how unique they are. Because a lot of games they'll have things like that and you'll totally forget about them by the time you're done.
Yeah,
I can't wait to talk about the other one of those.
Oh boy. They're also I
hope it's the very last one.
Yep.
There's a lot of puzzles in games that you can brute force your way through, and this doesn't necessarily feel like one of those to me, because if you're just playing the game the way you've kind of been led to play the game the first 30 or 40 hours, that solution doesn't necessarily come easy. It does for me this time around, because like I said, every single BT area I'm just running in head first. So I saw that BT area and I ran in head first, and I saw the thing start to float through the tar, and I was like,
yeah, did you guys read the emails?
No, I don't read emails.
You got, because you get a couple of emails right when Die Hardman is Sam, how can you get across this tar belt?
Oh, and then he kept saying it too, doesn't he?
Some kind of way. Yeah.
There's another.
Well,
I think
especially if you kill yourself and have to redo.
Well, no, but I think there's another area
does.
that somebody just consistently keeps saying something to you, and it's like, dude, I know, shut up. Every 30 seconds they keep saying it. I didn't write it down. I don't think so. Doesn't matter.
I don't know if any of you went into a private room at that moment, because if you go into the private room, Die Hardman, I think, literally says to you, "Oh, by the way, you should check your emails."
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I did happen to go in. There was a private room station there. I went in, and
Is
he
that like
did
a-
say that, which is why I checked.
Is that like a fans only kind of thing?
Yeah. So we summon BTs, which brings the past up in the tar. All right, which floats buildings and buses like we've seen happen every other time we've summoned BTs, and the tar pits have been there. And we jump across those to get across the tar pit and wake up on the other side, or well, get to the other side
We
as
find
we're
Amelie at
Yeah.
we see her at the
Yep.
end of the road.
just as we're getting to the end of the tar, we see Amelie, and as we approach, a BT comes. Amelie turns away, and Sam is swallowed by the tar. We get a scene with Sam on the beach. Amelie singing London Bridge again. We follow her into the water, wake up on the correct side of the tar, and vomit, as to be expected. And Higgs shows up, which I think I totally failed to mention throughout the first episode of this delve, but Higgs calls himself the God Particle as well.
Because
Yeah, he's a-
Higgs is short for Higgs boson,
Yeah,
which
the
is
Higgs
the name
boson.
of the God particle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bit of a weird dude.
Hey, he likes to
Yeah, a
lick
little bit.
people a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say he likes licking people.
I have that written down. Like, why does Higgs lick
So-
people?
That's exactly why I've written it. Why does it keep licking people?
Especially with how disgusting Sam is at that point.
Yeah.
He just
yeah.
wanted to make some of those grenades.
But I pose a theory: does Higgs particle, or does God's particle have two meanings here? As we come to find that Higgs is a working particle for a god.
It's good. I like that.
All right.
I like that.
It's like God's fart. You know, it's a poop particle. That's Higgs floating around, all stinky and licking people. Give you a pink eye.
So Higgs jests that the only way he found out about Amelie being here was us connecting the network in the first place. And we finally get a good shot of Higgs's face, and he's got some script like burned into his head. It's not English script, but some writing burned into his forehead.
Do you think? Obviously, there's the fact that he says us connecting the chiral network is what brought him to Amelie. And at the beginning of the game, Sam says, that connecting the world and cables didn't bring an end to war and suffering. And all. Do you think there's do you think there's something to that? Do you think there's a connection there? Some foreshadowing, perhaps.
Almost definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with what we come to find out in a couple episode chapters here.
Yeah.
Yeah, my note here is he licks Sam, comma, I really can't wait to kill this asshole.
I do like, though, that I think someone said it in the last episode, that they actually modeled his face after Tyler's favorite voice actor. Like, it actually looks like him rather than somebody else.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they did that with all the characters in this game, so...
This must be the first game Troy Baker's been in where he
Is Troy
actually
Baker.
looks like Troy Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't look like Delson.
Yeah.
God. All right, and then we get episode 9, Higgs. So as we get to Higgs leaves us, we get to the next distro center, and Die Hardman. This is the first time Die Hardman seems like really pushy about us connecting a particular center. Like he's always had his own agenda to connect them in the first place, but this time he's like, "Go on, Sam, we have to do it right now. We've got to find Amelie." He was extremely pushy this time.
This might be the other one that every 30 to 45 seconds he wouldn't shut the fuck up because I was like trying to walk around. He's like, "Come on, let's fucking go!" Nope, shut up.
This could
I'm
definitely be it.
exploring.
And at this point, I didn't know if we could trust Die Hardman or not. So my note here was like, I wonder why Die Hardman is so pushy in us getting this particular center online. But he does note that we have to be careful once we connect it, as Higgs will be able to more easily locate Amelie. We connect it, take a rest in our private room, and when we wake up, Amelie is calling us. She doesn't seem to be able to hear us, but continues talking anyway.
She says again, as she's said so many times, meet me on the beach.
Yeah. Every time. I think that's just how she says goodbye. She tells us her real name is Amerigo, after Amerigo Vespucci, the man who...
I also wrote
discovered-
down who the fuck names their daughter Amerigo.
Question.
Well, yeah, interesting question.
Yeah. Apparently, she was born on the beach, which, in hindsight, sets off huge red flags. She said Higgs can't find her where she's sitting on the beach. She tells us that there's something she needs to tell us, that she's been wearing a mask for a long time. When Higgs woke us up at the other end of the tar pit, Higgs was also talking about people wearing masks. So as soon as Higgs mentions masks, now it's a theme. She says that Higgs speaks the truth and confirms Hartman's theory that she is an EE and that she could end humanity. She wants us to promise her that we'll stop it, that we'll make sure humanity continues, and then she disappears, telling us she'll see us on the beach.
Well, this is definitely that part, because I have written down right here. I don't like Die Hard Man telling me to keep looking for the fucking delivery. Or no, he gives you a delivery, and he's like, don't fuck up a delivery. Like, motherfucker, what have I been doing this entire goddamn game?
Yeah,
It's delivering shit.
50 hours of delivering.
You tell me this time? Don't fuck this one up?
This will be your most difficult and most important delivery yet, Sam.
I
Take
have an-
the first step and deliver these materials to the station outside the tar belt.
Also, in this room, because I think you're in the safe room, right?
Yeah.
This is the first time I did this, so I apologize if we did it. I drank all of the beer in my room, and then I checked on Lou. So if you haven't done this, it's pretty comical, because he stumbles over to Lou and he starts like flicking the little tank and like keeps looking, hey, like kind of yells at it and then stumbles backwards and falls over. It's kind of funny.
I don't think that sounds familiar. Maybe either I've seen a GIF of that or I did it my first run, but I haven't done it this run.
But that was fun. I like that. Something.
Well, the
different.
reason he tells us specifically about this delivery is because we're delivering a BB pod.
Yeah.
So that's the I have that written down. Did we ever find out what the
No.
point of that?
Yeah, they say so. The BBs were initially devised by Bridget as a way to make the chiral network work. Like, they are the actual back. There's a BB pod at the center of every distro center that allows the chiral network to function.
Right. I didn't pick up on that.
That was what I got gathered, at least. Yeah. I don't know if that's actually the case, but I think the game outright says that.
Seems like
I
a
don't know,
good
there's a lot
thing,
of
but
those.
I don't think I was listening if that definitely was said. And if it was in an email, I for sure did not read that.
Maybe it was in an email then, because I do read my emails.
No, they say it at
probably
the
was.
end. Like it's
Okay.
part of the big info dump at the end.
Okay.
That explains more why I don't know.
You were paying attention during that?
Before we get that BB pod, we do have a dream with Cliff, one of the feedback memories, where Cliff, still blood covered, is singing a lullaby to BB. This looks kind of like the scene just after they told him to stop, stay where you are, and then they shot him. Looks like he's on the ground bleeding out, singing a song to BB when the door opens. All right, so we get that BB pod. Oh, that's right. Okay, so we head to Edge Knot, and big BT time. So this is here's the big.
Hold on. First, we see a cutscene of giant Amelie walking
Yes.
on the beach, like.
Oh, that's right.
I've
Attack
written
of the
down
50-foot woman.
Did I?
or
Oh, I skipped over
whatever.
some notes. I saw a different Cliff note.
That's okay. We can just.
Yeah.
I was gonna say though, Kojima really likes his big people.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of big people.
Maybe he's gonna make an Attack on Titan game.
Maybe.
If anyone could
highly
make an
doubt it.
Attack on Titan game,
There are games, and I don't think they're very good.
that's what I mean. Maybe we get a good one.
I was actually gonna say I really want to see Kojima make a horror game. After some of these nightmare sequences. Like
He's
these
never
are
done that
completely-
before.
No, he's never even considered it. But some of these nightmare sequences are really freaky.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get to Edge Knot. We have that package that looks just like a BB pod. As we head out there, immediately a BT area, we get these jellyfish BTs and a rocket launcher, which should have clued me in to maybe make a couple of those things, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I had to rely on my homies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, actually, no. I think I made 3 at the very
Mm.
once you get to the
I
end,
made
and you can make.
I made 4.
Yeah, I
'Cause
had
I knew what was coming.
Yep.
2 assault rifles on me.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the assault rifles are real good for the balloons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they were great for that.
I don't think I ever shot a balloon. You can just run past the balloons. Very.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I shot all of them.
Yep, every single one.
Sure if that works.
After we connect Edge Knot, Die Hardman comes up to congratulate us that we've reconnected the continent and that it's reborn as the United Cities of America. Tells us to wait in our private room, that Amelie should be there. We dream of the beach. A very alien voice speaks out to Sam on the beach. They knew Sam would come for them. It looks like
phone home.
not quite that alien.
Oh.
It looks like Higgs, but it doesn't sound like him. Then Amelie appears as a giant, as big as that BT from the very beginning of the game. I have a note in here that are Amelie and Higgs the same person, and I was not as far off as I maybe thought I would be when I wrote that note down.
That's a
We
well.
got
I'd love to know your
boom,
thoughts.
Sam.
I'd love to know your thought process behind that, because that's a wild theory.
In the moment, man, I don't know. It was maybe it was the voice thing.
It was the
and
weed talking.
Just it could be. It was late at night at that point too. I'd been playing Death Stranding for 6 hours straight.
Too much time for a porter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I do like coming up here. Higgs has a really good line. Time for a good old fashioned boss fight. I wrote that down.
Yeah, he's
And
got a
it's-
lot of.
It's what it
Higgs-
is.
Higgs has a lot of lines that like he knows he's in a video game almost.
Mhm.
What do you want me to lower the difficulty for you? Load a save or something like that. Like, he's got a lot of lines where
Yeah.
like he thinks he's in a game.
He's
Um,
clever.
Higgs teleports behind us while we're in this dream. Says, "I am the extinction event." Goes to take off the mask, and it looked like Amelie and Higgs in one. It was kind of like their faces combined. And we wake up to a red flashing room saying contact imminent, combat protocol advised, which probably again should have been a note for me to make some of these goddamn rocket launchers. I did not do. As we connect to BB when we're leaving, we have another dream. Oh yeah, just a bunch of different BB dreams. They all get explained in due time. And then we
Several
step out
times.
yeah, several times over. Then we step out to oh shit, big BT time. Higgs, as we like leave, there's a giant, like 14-story tall BT with Amelie in a crucified position, corallium pasted to its heart, and 2 like hands for a head.
Yeah, like when you kill the other BTs and they.
Yeah, the chiralium always comes up as hands.
Mhm.
But this one has a hand for a head, which feels a
Yeah,
little
it's
different.
fine. I mean, it makes sense, given as weird as this game has been so far.
It's fair. So Higgs pops up behind Sam, grabs him by the head, and thanks Sam for giving him what he needed, connecting all the knots.
A lick.
And yeah, just a little one.
Just a taste.
Higgs starts singing, "I've got the whole world in my hands."
I feel like for that bit specifically, I feel like the way he delivered that, Kojima just wrote it as dialogue, didn't realize that it was like the lyric to that hymn, and like Troy Baker just added that singing part in.
Could be.
See, for that part, all I thought was, Ryan, you won't know this because you don't watch movies, but Steve Buscemi in Con Air. Then he starts singing it.
Yeah,
He's like a mass murderer in that, a serial killer. You should watch it.
good film.
Maybe I will.
It's quite like Death Stranding in a lot.
Yeah.
Of ways.
Interesting. Higgs talks about the 5 mass extinction events, each caused by extinction entities, and says it's time for number 6. He wants a complete extinction, wiping out all life as we know it, and says it wouldn't have been possible without his Boy Scout Sam. Higgs brings Amelie down, slams his mask on her face. What do you think is exactly happening when he, like, because he does this to Sam at one point, does to Amelie a couple times. Is he suffocating them by making them breathe chiralium? Because that's what kind of popped into my head.
I don't know. I figured it was weird Kojima space magic.
I feel like what's going on with the masks is never well explained.
Fair enough.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. And then the mask fuses to her, and she begins reciting something as the voice from the dream we just had, which maybe is their voices together. But it sounds like kind of a... What's the term when you're speaking through a voice box? It sounds changed. There's a word for it. I can't think of it.
Ventriloquist.
Not quite.
Damn it.
Travis knows the lane I'm going down, but he is also drawing a blank.
I mean, yeah, voice changer. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Modulated.
Yes. The voice sounds very modulated. Higgs is using her for his own purpose at this point, controlling her via the mask by some fashion, which is my note here. I don't know how right that is. She says,
I mean, we find out later that it's absolutely not right at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I really question what the deal with the mask is and think it's not well explained.
Yeah.
in the first place. Yeah.
Because it doesn't make
Maybe,
any sense why what happens with... I don't know.
Maybe it's like, I mean, the whole game has these items, these MacGuffins, sort of that the characters connect to, like the dream catcher that Sam has.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Maybe it's that kind of deal,
Could
and
be.
he just sort of channels his power through that.
Could be. That could be like a thing you use to get to Higgs's beach.
Yeah.
Better than any other explanation the game gave us. I'll take it.
Woo.
We did it.
Excuse me. So yeah, she says she will merge all of mankind's beaches into a single shore now that all of the knots are connected, and then an extinction like no other. In this moment, the giant BT is making the exact same motions Amelie is, which was a weird connection to me in the moment, and it makes a lot more sense by the end of this game. And in that moment, I'm like, is Amelie controlling that BT?
Wow.
Maybe.
Pretty insightful.
Weird.
Ka-chow.
Interesting.
What I assumed at the time was either that Higgs was controlling the BT through Amelie, or Amelie was under some sort of hypnosis kind of deal from the mask, and Higgs was making her, point and stuff, and that connected her to the big BT. I don't know.
I don't know. Even the first one, though, like, if Higgs is controlling her, how is she controlling the BT, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, that should have been a bigger... Like, by the end of this game, reading back some of these notes, it's like, oh, that's a giant fucking red flag. Like, just enormous. How did I not pick up on this? And, I had a thought while I was playing this last chunk, James. You said repeatedly last time, Kojima is not subtle, and my thought was, man, Kojima may not be subtle, but he is really good at hiding things in plain sight.
I think part of it is honestly that it could be anything, so it's so hard to dial in what it's going to be because it could go any direction.
Yeah, and it goes a lot of directions. So the camera spins around Sam as Amelie's talking to him. She says the last stranding is my reason for being. The first was nothing more than a prelude. Higgs goes on to say, "Happy fucking doomsday, Sam."
We got Doom, Sam. That's my favorite line in the game. Is when Higgs just yells that.
Yeah. I think Higgs may be my favorite character in this game. Or one of.
Yeah. I mean, I brought him a lot of pizzas.
I didn't bring him nearly enough pizzas, but I got in anyway.
Pizzas.
I didn't bring him jack shit.
I'm not bringing the bad guy pizzas. What are you guys doing?
Well, I only brought him one. I didn't know he was the bad guy until the end of this run. B, I just before the recording of this podcast, I went to look up. Peter Engler is actually the name of a scientist who helped work with the project that discovered the Higgs boson particle.
Yep. No, okay. So did you get the beat the Higgs custom, the HG custom weapons?
No.
Okay, so that's what you get for completing all of the pizza delivery missions.
Yeah, you still get to go down. You get the memory card. You get all the journal notes and everything.
But you don't get guns that shoot chiralium.
That's fine. I just need a gun that shoots rope. That's all I need.
My stick makes ropes.
Your stick makes strands. Higgs says Amelie is the source of all of this. Everything that Doom's sufferers see and fear and live with, all because of Amelie. Amelie hugs Sam and turns into Higgs and says, "We can speed it up or slow it down, but we can't stop what they've started."
Are we still in the boss fight here? Or is this after
We haven't started the boss fight.
This is like the cut.
Started.
This is the last bit of the cutscene before the boss fight, and now it's the boss fight. So we have to take down this giant BT while Higgs just talks shit the entire time.
Yeah. This is the first time that I used the grenade launcher, and I noticed the manual detonation on that grenade launcher is so fun.
Yeah.
Because you can just
Is that
hit
the
'em-
remote detonation one?
Yeah.
I've never
'Cause
used that one.
Well, it's so fun. You just fire like all 8 grenades at this huge BT, and they all stick, and then you detonate them one by one by just mashing square. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, I never used that one.
Yeah, I only used the regular one. That was the only one that I never made any of the explosive devices. They were all left or given to me by your homies from the TAR during a fight. Yeah. And I only ever got the quad rocket launcher and the standard grenade launcher, both of which were very helpful as I entered this fight with only 2 assault rifles.
Yeah.
I was very under-equipped. This fight took me about 15 minutes as I had to run back and forth a bunch to get weapons and blood bags to be able to take the thing down.
Sure.
Yeah, this is one of the these boss fights get very bullet spongy towards the end of the game.
Yeah, a little bit. Actually, I have a question for you, James, and Travis, if you know possibly. Is there a not different outcome, but is it quicker taking this BT down if you aim for wherever Higgs is emblazoned on it versus where Amelie is emblazoned on it?
Yeah, I always aim straight for Higgs.
I did notice
chunked him very hard.
Yeah, I did notice that if you hit Amelie, Higgs will say a line like, "Oh, it's me you want, not Amelie," or
yeah.
something like
I
that.
heard that line a bunch because I was just shooting the chest. That's
Yeah. I mean, sometimes
the head works too.
Yeah, sometimes I couldn't get a good shot on the gold bits, so I just aimed wherever, and it all seemed to do damage. But yeah, I don't know if 'cause it's tough to see how far down that health bar goes. Whenever you hit it. So I couldn't say if it does any more damage. I would assume so though.
I think it was just 2 rocket launchers for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I used all 4 of my rocket launchers and didn't take it down.
Yeah.
How the fuck did you?
I hit either Higgs or the head on every rocket.
okay.
So.
All right, yeah, so Higgs in the head definitely have to deal more damage than anywhere else on the body.
The head was mostly when it's about to want me, you need to like get out of jail free card to just slap a rocket into its chin.
Oh, I thought I always went for the umbilical cord when it's got the pulse going through it, and that'll stop him from attacking too.
Oh, cool.
Interesting.
There's like a pulse. So if you watch the strand, like it's going up and it's brr, 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 flashing red. I'm like, well, that's just a dead giveaway at a boss fight.
I didn't see it because I was just looking up the entire time.
Yeah, we're right back at East where you didn't know the tools and you didn't look for the
Yep.
flashing
Yep.
pits.
Yep. After we take the monster down, Sam goes searching through the fog for Amelie. We get a glimpse of her with Higgs's mask on before he comes from behind and grabs her. Amelie tells us the extinction's on hold for now, and then he goes to shoot us when the real hero of this story steps in.
Princess Peach?
Lou fires up the Odradek and stops Sam from being shot, spinning the Odradek fingers to protect Sam from the bullets.
And the score right here, the score when this is happening is like swelling in that good Death Stranding score way. It's really good.
Did you also notice that thing is fucked up the rest of the game? Like,
no, I didn't.
When you prill it up, it's all the blades are still all fucking jacked.
No, I didn't even notice. Yeah, but I believe it because this game has been very good with its consistency for things.
Your whole bloody foot.
And we get a nice close up of an extremely pissed off BB. Very mad. Higgs then shoots the BB pod.
That's psycho.
Which just makes me want to kill him even more. And then he sprays Sam's back with gunfire and tells us he'll see us on the beach for the final show. Now we just have to figure out how to get to the beach. Fragile helps us. Obviously, she's our best friend with a connection to the beach that close. She tells us she can't jump us to that beach herself, but we have a strong enough connection with Amelie that we can make the jump.
Where are we at this point?
Either Edge Knot or Distro.
No,
of
don't
Edge
we
Knot.
end up back? I thought you end up back at the last private room you rested in.
This is the private room at the last. Where are we? Is it Edge?
Oh,
Knot?
is it? Yeah, Edge Knot's the
Yeah.
furthest one out.
It's in the Edge Knot City private room.
Is it? Because I thought after that big fight you end up back across the tar belt.
No, okay, no, it's definitely Edge Knot because after the big fight, I went to head towards the distro center looking for cargo, thinking this was like the rest of the game, and there was none, and it made me go back to the private room at Edge Knot.
Yeah, because the thing is, they tell you they want you to go back to the start, but you can't, or go back across the tar, but you can't go back across the tar the same way you came across, so you have to fragile jump. So then the decision is to go to the private room.
Makes sense. Right, so Fragile jumps us to Amelie's beach. Sam gets ready to leave, brings no weapons.
Gonna use his fists.
So we're talking to Fragile here in the private room, right?
Yep.
And then did anyone else think it was really weird the way Sam just snatched the crypto bite out of her hand as she was going to eat it?
Yeah.
Does he really like crypto bites all of a sudden?
Either that or he's trying to calm a nervous stomach.
Well, then later he doesn't take one, right? He refuses her.
Well, the way I read it was he's trying to convince her that he trusts her now.
Yeah.
Because whereas before, earlier in the game, he wouldn't accept a crypto bite. And that's kind of like, she was like, oh, okay, sure, you know.
But
And now it's like, okay, I'm going to take one of these and show you that, okay, we have a relationship here, I trust you now.
He took his first one after she told the story of what happened with the bomb. It was when he took the first one from her.
So that seems like...
I think that's...
Well, yeah, she gave him one. This one, he actually takes hers.
Yeah. No, that...
Well, she offers one, and then she takes one out for herself.
Yeah, and he takes it
rips
too.
that
So he
out
eats
of her.
two of the weird little things.
Oh, he's hungry. He's hungry.
That's what I'm thinking. Nervous stomach, right? He's going in for a big fight.
Because that's
on
going to
the
make
beach.
it That's gonna ease your stomach, keeping these weird flesh-colored
Have you had the
bugs.
crypto buyout?
Yep, every day of my life. It's awful.
Keeping the time fall away. uh, all right, and then we get ready to make the jump to the beach. That jump takes a lot out of Fragile, as normally she just kind of flips, and then we get a new cutscene. This one, she drops to her knees as the camera pans up to the somewhat busted umbrella of hers. We awake on the beach, where we see Amelie and Higgs, with Higgs bowing down to Amelie for a moment.
Yeah, that probably should have been a dead giveaway also.
Yeah, that was another, like, what is happening? Higgs immediately jumps into action and seizes Amelie, puts her in a spider web of tar. What's this game's obsession with spider webs? I thought it was ocean creatures.
Spider webs of razor wire.
That too. Higgs takes this opportunity to monologue to us, saying humanity doesn't have all that much time left, all things considered. Might as well end it now and accept our fate. This is where I have the note of Higgs speaking as if he's in a video game. One boss fight. Should I change the difficulty for you? We stand ready to fight him with our strand while he has a rifle. What did you guys think of this part of the Higgs fight?
I just grabbed all the containers and started whipping them at him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I picked up many a place.
Look at the look on Ryan's face. He didn't even think about it. Didn't even think about it.
In all
Did you spend the
fairness-
whole time sneaking around to get behind him so you could strand him? Yeah.
In
Yeah.
all fairness, in my first playthrough, I think it took me a while to figure it out as well.
Yes, I will cop to that. It took me quite a while.
I mean, you can also just wait for him to like stop shooting and run up to him and just start punching him in the face.
Yeah,
which
I
I also
think-
did.
reload
yeah.
frequently.
That happened a lot.
I think in the second phase, though, the packages are more important.
I actually I like the second phase a lot more because I learned from Jay's just use the parry.
Yeah.
I parried every single attack, took him down real easy in the second. So the first phase is he fights you with a rifle while you have your strand. The second phase is he fights you with a knife while you have your strand. And then there's a third phase where, as you're on your way out to Amelie, he raises a tar pit lake to like waist high for both of you. And then you're stuck having an immovable fist fight between the two of you.
I like this part
Hang on.
because I'm a
You're
big.
doing the MGS4 fight. Yeah.
Real quick, though, are you supposed to use the strand during the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
didn't-
kept
never
whipping
used the
containers.
strand. I think I've used the strand like twice.
Oh
with my
yeah, no.
entire
This
playthrough.
the second phase is so incredibly easy with the strand because the
Mhm.
parry window is huge. So you just stand there and wait for him
I've-
to attack you, and you parry and then wrap him up. and
I've never even
kick the
tried.
crap out of him.
I've never even tried the parry thing.
I mean, I didn't have much
all-
problem anyway.
All I kept doing was picking up packages and throwing them at him to sort of knock him back, so I could go in for a few punches.
Yeah, that's all I did.
Yeah, no, I let him come attack me with the strand. I'd parry his attack real easy, tie him up, and then beat the shit out of him a few times.
That does
Do
seem
that.
easier. I wish
Yeah,
I'd
it
known
takes
that.
like 3 or 4 of those.
Well,
I
for your
Yep.
next playthrough, Smithy, now you know.
Yeah,
when you play the director's cut.
cut.
Yeah, we.
I'm never doing that again.
I was gonna say we could mention the elephant in the room today. The director's cut for this game got announced.
It seems like it's PS5 exclusive.
It is, yeah. I think it's PS5
yeah,
exclusive.
It seems like it, which kind of brings up a question from one Chris, fellow Spelunker. What do you want from a theoretical Death Stranding sequel?
I don't know that I can answer this.
Emphatically don't want one.
Yeah, I don't think
I
there
w-
should be a sequel.
I want cardboard boxes like Metal Gear Solid.
Well, then you
Fair.
just have to play the director's cut.
But
Or-
yeah,
uh,
I don't think this game lends itself to a sequel necessarily. Like,
What about something in the IP, right? Like Kojima says this is the first Strand game. What about another Strand game?
I like something with the mechanics of like building up a shared world. Yes, give me more of that. Like,
Yeah.
for sure.
But maybe not as a delivery person. Like, if you can't, like, don't make another Death Stranding, like another version like this game, but it's not this game.
But look, like people like making infrastructure, right?
Well, that's
Like,
fine,
they're
but just
all-
don't have
yeah,
it
no,
be
no,
a
I'm
delivery
agreeing
one.
with you. I'm
Okay.
agreeing with you. Like, But there's all kinds of games in which, like, a lot of survival games are building up your infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that people talk about when they talk about those games. It's
Mhm.
like, look how much easier I made my life by doing X thing in this survival game, right?
How proud I was of that bridge I built in Valheim.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that's exactly what I'm thinking of, and I think this was such a cool way to realize some like a buildup of infrastructure that I really want to see carried forward into more IP.
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't know that I will want another a sequel to this game in the sense of a sequel to a game, but I do like the idea of more Strand games
Yeah.
in some fashion. All right. Honestly, I didn't really like this boxing match all that much.
What? Dude, I love this
Yeah.
part, but I'm a big I love Fight Night. So I used to play
I-
those boxing games a ton, so it's very I got into it. I was like, this is sweet.
Yeah, I thought I thought it threw the pacing off quite a bit because you're sort of you can't move,
Mm-hmm.
so you're just
Yep.
standing there trying to throw a punch, and he's got quite a large health bar,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got these sort of Mortal Kombat style slow-mo things where you punch him in the face, and it's like you see his jaw breaking or whatever. And the music did not fit it at all. The music was very sort of somber and calming, and not what you'd expect for a bare knuckle boxing match.
Were you just throwing punches?
Yeah.
You didn't like if you bob and weave and get under one at the right time and hit them, you do a lot more
You
damage.
can bob and weave?
Yes.
How? The game does not explain it.
With the
Which-
stick,
With the stick, you can pull back. You can
Literally
move
just
to the left, to
use-
the right.
The game needs to explain the mechanics of a fight. No, this is a genuine problem with this. This is a genuine problem I have with this scene. I would have less problem with this scene if it had one quick. Here's what you can do in this little thing. Boop, like 3 seconds. Tell me what the sticks do. Tell me what the I figured out the triggers. That was it. I figured I couldn't move. Why touch a stick?
Well, maybe it's because I played the Fight Night games that I just immediately went, okay, hit the right stick, and
Someone who hates fighting games.
it's not a fighting game; it's a boxing game.
It falls under the same category. I dislike Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, all of those games. Bad for me. I don't like playing them. So like none of that translated to me, and it really made this fight take a long time and felt like it really broke pace. So this is a weak point of this boss fight for me, honestly.
Oh, I love. This
I like
part.
the experimental sort of style of it. It feels very. I haven't played a lot of Metal Gear Solid games, but it feels very Metal Gear, like what I've seen from like Metal Gear Solid 4 and stuff. It
yeah,
feels
it
like
is that fight. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I hate it, but it's definitely a dark spot for me. Like in what is otherwise a phenomenal experience.
See, I didn't remember that you could use the stick until he dodged one of my punches, and I was like, "Well, that seems unfair." And then I moved the stick, and you lean.
He
And
never
I was
dodged a
like,
single punch of
oh.
mine. He only ever blocked.
Yeah, same here.
Only ever blocked.
Interesting.
You
Didn't
can't-
dodge a single punch.
Can't block a counter punch.
But all I'm saying is, in this game is filled to the brim with tip toolboxes. Am I
That is
wrong?
True. That's true.
We couldn't have gotten one tip toolbox
This is a-
of use your stick
It's
to
a
dodge.
climactic moment. It would have interrupted the flow.
They have not given a crap about other climactic moments in tip toolboxes, Tom.
I don't know.
All I'm saying is a tip toolbox could have made me not think of this moment as a bad time. One minor thing that really kind of drags this spot down for me just a little bit. But we get through the fist fight. Sam ends it with a nice headbutt. We drag Higgs to the shore, and he jokes with Sam about the F and phosmophobia and says, "Congrats, you won the game." He tells us to get on with it. Too bad we didn't stop shit, as Fragile walks up, giving us her good old catchphrase.
That classic catchphrase.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm fragile, but I'm not that fragile. Because
I'm sorry, but that catchphrase started to get really annoying by the last time she said it.
I didn't like it the first time she said it.
It definitely got old quick. Yeah, before we left, we told her we'd save Higgs for her, which is she. So we follow Amelie to this beach with our dream catcher, and then she follows us to the beach with the
strand that she gave us.
Yeah,
right?
the strand she gave us. Yep. They had a different word for it. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't care for all the weird words they gave everything.
So we leave Higgs to Fragile as we go to save Amelie. Fragile says, "This time you'll be the one to break Higgs." Higgs tries to control Amelie again, but she is able to willfully take off the mask. When it doesn't work, she says,
I wonder why.
Yeah, right? Well, this line is another one of these giant red flags that in hindsight is just like, Higgs says, "Come on, give me power, damn it."
Yeah.
As the camera turns to Amelie and Sam, and Amelie looks back silently.
This game really makes you feel stupid, huh?
Yeah. Really does. Fragile says, "Oh, are you already broken?" And Higgs says his particle of God BS and calls Fragile damaged goods. She takes off her gloves and punches him in the face before returning the message.
Why didn't she lick him? You know, get back at him, just lick his face.
Would you lick Higgs?
I mean, he did it to her.
I mean, yeah,
What's
if
the
he-
worst
if
that could
Higgs-
happen? You're eating those weird naked flesh bugs.
Yeah, if Higgs licked me, I'd probably want to lick him back.
Fair enough.
Bit of
All right.
I mean, we don't know that she didn't lick him because she did other things that she didn't tell
That's
us
true.
about till later. So
That's true. Sam takes the Kipu back from Higgs and hands Fragile a rifle. Fragile takes the rifle, checks the ammo, chambers around, and aims it at Higgs, tied up on the ground. Camera comes back to Amelie and Sam. She asks what took Sam so long.
Wait, I thought I took a note of this.
Yeah,
Apparently I didn't. Maybe it's later on.
could be.
Yeah, that's later on. Never mind. Sorry. Carry
Yeah,
on.
good. She gets worried about Sam's injuries as he puts the Kupu on her back on her, not on her back. Fragile walks up to them. She gives us Higgs's mask. Oh yeah. So Fragile offers. Oh, and she brought BB. Fragile offers her help getting us back west, but Amelie says it won't be needed with the network and her. Fragile seems a bit hurt by this, but understands and heads back to Higgs. She's not too happy about us not needing her, according to Amelie.
mm-hmm.
Amelie has a discussion with Sam. He may be losing her faith in her. He wants to know who all this was for. Her, Bridget. She replies for the country, for the future. But she has
Yada,
one
yada,
more
yada.
secret. Yeah. That she slipped here from the east so that Sam would have a reason to join Bridges. She deceived him about the entire thing, which is not the last secret this game has to share. Not by a long shot. They use Sam's affection for Amelie as a tool to get him to help rebuild the UCA. It was Die Hardman's idea. This is where Sam says, "Great, so I'm Mario and you're Princess Peach."
Yep.
Uh,
And then Amelie says
replies,
they're gonna run like Mario and Princess Peach.
mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, that is not the worst part of this scene. The worst part of this scene
Is
is
when they run.
immediately after that, when they run in slow motion, looking at each other like they're in fucking Baywatch or something.
And smiling. Sam smiles.
Yeah.
This is where I turned the game off and threw my system out the window. No.
My note here is just after this, as they finish their running, they come up to a little cliff, and Amelie tells Sam to wait here. She climbs up the rocks and over to see. My note here is, man, she climbs really well in those heels.
Also, why would she tell you not just to wait here? Like, obviously, yeah, are we just gonna stand here and wait while you go over the hill and we don't know what the fuck's on the other side?
Also, is Sam not the one supposed to be saving Amelie? Shouldn't he be the one checking over the cliff to see what's there?
But she knows.
So Sam obviously gets impatient, climbs up after her. As we come to the top, we see Die Hard Man talking to
Dun, dun, dun.
Amelie? Bridget? It's Bridget. My notes say Amelie, but it's Bridget. Which again,
I mean,
when my
weren't
brain
wrong.
says right, when my brain says, "Oh, this is Amelie," and then the game's like, "No, it's Bridget." Again, there's wires. I should have freaking put a connection on. And he has her at gunpoint. I have a note. He has to have been working with the demons from the inside. The things this game makes
no.
you think, that's not right at all. He asks if she remembers this, and says it's the same gun, and now he's using it to make things right, which, boy, I didn't know what he meant by that, but now I certainly do. That she was supposed to make the world whole, not fuck it up again. He shoots Bridget to no avail after she tells him to. Like, she grabs the gun, holds it to her heart, tells him to do it. Nothing happens. She tells him there's no atonement for either of them.
It's almost like the Anakin Obi-Wan scene, but it's not as satisfying.
Yeah, because no one actually.
He didn't chop her legs and arm off, so.
As they're having this standoff, some of those special forces skeletons come out of the water towards Die Hardman with Cliff in tow. Die Hardman is a little disbelief. He's in a little disbelief that Cliff's there. Falls to his knees, and Cliff's eyes follow him the whole way down. Cliff kneels down, takes off his mask, takes off Die Hardman's mask, and like, John, like, confused, like, is this John? Die Hardman starts apologizing to Cliff. We still don't see his face in this scene. Cliff raises a rifle to Bridget and says, "Give me back my BB." She tells him he's looking in the wrong place, then points to us on the cliff, and the skeletons give chase. Amelie.
I love that in like games and movies and TV and stuff, when you're watching like characters have an interaction from the distance, from a distance, and you don't think that they're aware of you, and then all of a sudden they just turn around and point at you like they knew you were there the whole time. There's nothing creepier. Nothing creepier.
Yeah, I definitely like that. That raises the tenseness of that moment by several bars in an instant.
Yeah.
And then Amelie touches our back, which, didn't she already climb the cliff? And shoves us off the cliff into the water below, telling us to stay back. We have to repatriate, and we get the scene with the doll, not with BB here. We wake up in a private room. Deadman is there telling us we're back east of the Tar Belt. Amelie brought us back but didn't come herself. She left a message for HQ that she's going to finish what Bridget started and nothing else. We say we saw Bridget on the beach with Bridget on the beach, and Deadman says her body couldn't be there if we burned it. We tell them to check the logs, but they didn't get any of it. The only record is what Sam knows and remembers. He tells Deadman about the whole scene with Cliff, Die Hardman. Deadman has both the Higgs and Die Hardman mask in this scene. He says he believes that Cliff has been the mastermind of the plots the entire time, not Higgs. He's still wrong. Cliff is no mastermind. And he's likely holding Amelie and Die Hardman captive on the beach. We have to go to Fragile, send us to the beach, but she's not here. A lot has changed while we were unconscious. Oh, God. So Fragile has spent herself getting all of the major players that we've met through this game, Heartman, Lochna, Deadman, back to Capital Knot. So she is beyond spent, which is why we have to now walk ourselves back across the entire country in the hardest downpour timefall.
I just drove down the completed road.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, me
I
too.
took my zip lines back to Mountain Knot and drove a motorcycle down the road.
Yeah, I didn't have much. I think there was one spot where I think I had to fight one of the like upsprings, but.
Well, here's the thing. I'm sure this happened to you guys as well, because it happened to me. There's at least one point in there where you're driving, and you instantly get caught by BTs before they even pop up, and you have a chance to avoid them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That happened to me in the section after the lake.
Yes. Yeah, there's 2 in that area.
But in this part, driving from Mountain down to Lake Knot, no, not to me at all, because it can't happen to you on the road.
Well, because this is the part where they're like, all of your shit's been destroyed, so you had to rely on your homies.
No,
is that later?
That's after we cross the lake, the water again.
So I think because you have more roads than I do, because my road only starts. I didn't build any road, so I've only got what other people have built for me, and so my road starts at the distribution center, about halfway between where I am now and Lake Knot.
Oh god.
So I had to travel, and somewhere on that path between the start point and the road, I got caught by BTs instantly.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I had zip lines all the way to the southern distro, and then roads from there back to the. So it wasn't awful.
Gotcha. Yeah, I only had the 2 in the first area, which one's basically right before Capital Knot, the giant freaking whale, and one by the distro center.
It's interesting though. It's almost like they don't expect you to use roads, because once you get to the end, if you're driving down a road close to Lake Knot, like Dead Man stops you like every 5 meters almost, which feels like it wouldn't be as bad if you were walking, but if you're in a vehicle, it's just constantly being stopped.
I was walking, and it still felt pretty bad. It is like they couldn't have spaced this out just a little bit more. Because he keeps calling back. It's like, I've got new information. I've got new information. It's like, how fast are you researching these things, buddy? As we leave our room to go on this long journey, we get one BB dream where John and Bridget are both in the room. John being Die Hardman. Bridget has the Die Hardman mask on, though, saying yeah.
Sorry, what is with that? Do we know? Because I don't think I ever figured that
out. So I looked it up, and the reasoning I found that I figured made sense was that she's hiding her identity from the rest of the people that were involved in the project.
A cunning disguise. I'm sure no one could look past that.
Hey man, Clark Kent gets by with his glasses, right? Apparently nobody realizes that Eve is Adam Eve somehow. Like...
Yeah. She says that this child is special, either a BB candidate or a sacrifice, a foundation, a bridge, and the cutscene ends. So this is where they talk like the BBs being the foundation for the chiral network, or like one of the first hints about that. Later on, I think it gets explained more fully. Then we get episode 10, Die Hardman. Hartman warns us that the chiral density is extremely high. BT areas might be different. The sky looks like a aurora borealis covered with clouds and an extreme downpour. And then I think my next several notes are Dead Man calling us way later as we are near Lake Knot. Calls us about Unger. After he left the service, he became involved with early BB experiments. He died before they ended, and it seems his emotion is driven to keep him here. Deadman calls us with more info on the BB experiments. That, yeah, this is where it is. BBs were at the heart of the network. They make the entire thing possible, is what I have written down. But I remember that being explained as like they're at the foundation of every distro center, way station, as the piece that like allows the chiral knots to be connected across the country. He calls again. Cliff Unger put his own child in BB experiments without knowing what was going to happen.
I wonder who that could be.
Seems like he didn't like what happened and is now hateful of Bridges and Amelie. Since Bridget died, he just wants his child back. One more call, this time about Die Hardman. Deadman doesn't know about John and his connection to Amelie, so how is he on the beach? It's his connection to Cliff. Hartman interjects with the thought that there may be a beach above others that have powers over beaches, and that the beach above beaches is Amelie's. And that maybe Cliff is trying to trigger the last stranding. And just before we get to Lake Knot, we get dragged by another superstorm. We have a BB scene of Cliff bleeding out on the ground, saying how scared he was when he found out he was going to be a father. We hear in the background someone says, "John, shoot him," which was Bridget.
Yeah, this was the moment I realized Bridget's not a very nice person.
Very, very much not a nice person.
She's not even a person. I mean, she
Yeah.
says that later on. Like
Mhm.
she's an extinction entity. That's capital E, my friends.
Yeah. Something's
We got Doom, Sam.
Fucking Doomsday. We come to a tar beach with a baby doll on it while soldiers helicopter down surrounded by trees. Another combat veteran segment. Vietnam.
Vietnam.
My notes read, and I quote, "Fuck yeah, Vietnam."
Yeah, I also am very big. There's not enough Vietnam War video games.
Absolutely.
And you know why, right?
I mean, yeah.
We
Still,
America lost that war.
there's a lot more to it than that.
Reasons.
As a history buff, there's a lot more to it than America lost that war. But
in
yeah,
the public
it's not like
consciousness, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If you asked like most people what they know about the Vietnam War, like that there's probably two things. Like the U.S. committed a lot of atrocities, and we lost, right?
Yeah.
And nobody wants to play the game on the losing side,
For
right?
sure.
So that's probably part of why, I would guess.
But at the same time, I just want more Vietnam War, man. Like that would be like it's unexplored. And
interesting.
there's a good chance if they do it justice that people could learn more about it than those two things,
There you
right?
go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like enough time has passed. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, James, they make games about the Iraq and Afghanistan wars,
yeah, exactly,
which are still going on. So what is time?
Yeah. Flat circle. We get episode 11, Clifford Unger. We wake up as Sam in the jungle, and we're once again on the hunt for Cliff.
This is by far the hardest one, I think.
Well,
I mean, it was so wide open that, like, granted, yes, there's stuff to hide behind, but, like, since there's guys, like, kind of just everywhere, and you don't have, like, the building to hide in, really, like, there's, like, a little hut in one part, but, like, I think, like, the third phase, when you go up the hill in the middle, like, if you don't, like, somehow kite them down, there's just a bunch of guys there shooting at you.
But was it just me, or was this entire level really dark? And I'm not like
dark.
Not tonally, but like literally, you could not see what was going on.
My strat was always just to find Cliff. Go with the shotgun, find a Cliff, and just shotgun him until
I think my final, like, because I think I died like 3 or 4 times, so I think my final one is like, fuck this, I'm just running after him.
I actually had the James strategy this time around. This was a very easy segment for me as I snuck through high grass and strand rope killed all the skeletons, and then strand roped Cliff, and then like a few shots to his head, and he was ready to go down.
See, I tried sneaking behind them, and it didn't pop up. Even when I had my strand out, I couldn't do anything.
Oh, it worked for me, man.
So then I was like, well, fuck it. Then I'm just going to run around and shoot them all in the head.
Time to go loud. Yeah, so after we fully hunt Cliff down all 3 phases, we approach him, and again, he stares intently only at BB. He tells BB that we're getting out of here, and insists on us giving him his BB back. We ask if he is Cliff Unger, and he asks who we are. We don't answer, and he asks him if he's the father. Apparently, he knows who we are, but calls us Sam Porter, not Sam Bridges.
Yeah. Now, this seems like a good time to bring this up. Do we know why Cliff had an obsession with Lou, given what we now know to be the truth of the situation?
I think that's how he still saw you.
He didn't ever have. I mean,
well, because the way I thought is he was just picturing. That's how he knew you was in that little container. Right. So then he just kept looking at it because that's how he knew. Like, obviously he still knew who you were, but maybe there's like a weird memory block that he can't realize it completely. until
He
obviously we
also
hit those
gives
points.
you a big hug at the end of the second
Yeah.
one. Like he gives
Mhm.
you a big hug, you know.
So I don't
I
know
guess
if
I was
he's-
just thinking misplaced emotions.
yeah, or maybe it's just the way that Kojima was like trying to aim the camera so it looked like weird thing. I don't know.
Well, that's
To-
what I thought after my first playthrough, but playing it again because I remembered in some way that I think Sam and Cliff were connected. Um, but watching the cutscenes with that context, it still looked like he was trying to grab it at Lou. So
I don't know.
Yeah. My mind just goes to misplaced emotions. Like he lost his life while that connection was still in that kind of form for him. So that's where he's stuck at. But I'm
that
not
makes
sure.
sense.
Maybe there's something deeper than that.
That probably makes the most sense to me, though.
Okay. So we'll go with it. Yes, he calls us the bridge to the future and that we bring people together and asks us to stand. He gives us his dog tag and we give him BB before he gives it back to us. This time he hugs us, just not like last time where he hugged us like really aggressively. This time he hugs us like you'd hug a family member. And his military garb disappears for the suit that we see him wearing in all of the scenes we have as BB, and then he disappears. We get another BB dream of John telling Cliff to take BB and run. He feels he owes John a life. Wow, I had that wrong. He feels he owes Cliff a life debt and tells him this isn't the right path for his family. We wake up in our private room, and now we're in Port Knot, across the lake. Deadman is there talking to us, tells us he's found Die Hardman message labeled "If I don't come back." So we watch this. Die Hardman has a doll that he got from Amelie. Very, very similar and interesting looking doll. He says he knows it's a trap, but he's decided to play along, and that we've been playing along as well. He says Amelie is a blank slate, points out that no one has touched or seen Amelie. No one has ever had direct contact. Bridget said that Amelie was born on the beach and that her ka remained there, but her ha came to this world. This weird birthing scenario caused her to be in the hospital most of her childhood, though her health was poor, her dooms was off the charts, her supernatural ability became so strong that she overcame her limitations. When she hit 20, she was on the beach all the time. Even the president insisted on only hologram comms. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Die Hardman. Yep.
Sorry, I do have a couple notes about this scene. So first off, so when Die Hardman says the line, "You've all been playing along too, haven't you?" I swear to God, he looks directly into the camera when he says that.
He might. I wouldn't be surprised.
It
Maybe I
feels
didn't
like
notice it.
It feels like he's addressing us when he says, "You've all been playing along too, haven't you?"
We certainly have been.
Yeah. And also, just before the Die Hard Man part, when you go up to look at Baby at Lou, it says connection lost on the thing, and I can't help but feel like that's meant to be taken literally, because of okay, in the context of the scene, not knowing what we know now about Sam and Cliff, assuming that Cliff was actually after Lou, if to me what I read from that was that you sort of let Cliff reunite with Lou, and they sort of formed that connection, and a connection had been lost between you and Lou. And I thought maybe the connection lost that read on the screen was meant to be taken in a sort of literal context in that way.
You know, if it was, if other reveals didn't make that a little weird, I think that could flow. But I think knowing what we know with everything, it's probably connection just lost because of the chiralium spikes and all the weirdness going on with the chiral network
No,
at this time.
absolutely. I was just
but
alluding to an alternate meaning.
Yeah, no, I mean there definitely could have been. Like
Could-
you, anything could have 7 different meanings in a Kojima. Any one, a blade of grass shifts left instead of right, like the rest of the grass. That's got 12 different meanings that we don't know.
And that's
Um,
what we're here to do. We're here to talk about blades of grass.
exactly. Where was I? Yes. So Die Hardman believed Bridget when she told him that Amelie was her daughter. But as we expanded the network, he searched and found out that Bridget had uterine cancer in her 20s, leaving her unable to have children. He says he loaded his revolver with hematic rounds and plans on heading to the beach to stop her. He has one last confession before this hologram ends, which is our first hint about his name. He says all he ever did was run from death when on the battlefield. And then episode 12, Bridges. Die Hardman has left for the beach. All this wait, where was I? Okay, yes, we get back all the way to Capital Knot. Is this right? Yeah.
So we have to, after we come back, we are in Port Knot.
Yep. And then we've got to get back to Capital Knot. We've got that fight with the whale.
This is where we talked about earlier that all of your stuff has degraded.
Mm-hmm.
So like any generators or whatever. I mean,
Rely on your homies.
I drove most of the way for this. I started doing this and got pulled down and into the middle of. I got pulled down. That place where you get automatically pulled down, and had to go do something and didn't come back to the game for like 6 days. And I figured out why when I made it back to Capital Knot and had to fight that whale.
Was it that bad?
It's just so long. It was just such a long fight for me.
I feel like the Higgs fight was a lot longer for me than this fight.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah.
This was way longer for me.
Yeah, this fight was another big bullet sponge.
Yeah.
But once you get towards the end of it, and you've almost killed it, it almost starts getting more aggressive.
It starts shooting the gold people at you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
I
it
didn't have
starts,
that
like,
happen.
It starts
yeah.
diving straight into you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually lost to it one time. It came up and pulled me down.
I had several the homing rockets thrown up to me, so I was just hitting all those the spines along its back, and anything that lit up, just launch them. So it didn't take me that long to do that one.
Back to the real quick. Did you guys, any of you guys die to the big BT?
No.
So
No.
if you die, you just repatriate right there with it having its health where it was when you
really?
got killed by it. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, where was the big BT?
Back the giant 40-story BT.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where Higgs
with Amelie and
yeah.
Higgs in it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Just to backtrack a little bit as well. When you're going on the way to Capital Knot from Port Knot, you know that sort of choke point when you're up at the top of the mountains and you're sort of going sort of between two mountains on either side.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a singular narrow path.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that path, earlier on in the game, I died. So there was a huge crater there, right as the at the exit point. So I almost couldn't actually progress because you can't go through the crater.
Oh wow.
Luckily, there was a little bit to the side where I could just go around.
A narrow stretch.
Very nearly got trapped. I don't know if it's actually possible to get trapped.
There's got to be some way around, right?
There must be.
Must be. Yes, we get a cutscene where we learn all this time it was Amelie. Turns out Higgs squealed like a pig to Fragile, that everything was Amelie's plan all along. Fragile found no BB in his pod, just a doll. My BB links me to the world of the dead, but all the terrorists' BBs link them to Amelie and her beach. Cliff, Higgs, and John were all drawn in by this EE, but who is it even? It sounded earlier like it was a continuing being, not necessarily tied back to Amelie or Bridget, but the beach has answered. This was my thoughts, like, in the moment. Like, who could this thing be? I guess I should have put it together when the Evo Diva biologist said it's a gene thing, that some people have an extinction entity gene and some people don't, which just popped into my head. Maybe we can stop the Last Stranding, but we need to stop her. We have to bring a shipment of cryptobiotes from Port Knot for Fragile, as she is not doing well, on the verge of a coma.
Which is basically what you can't get them submerged with water, right? That's like the big thing.
That case was destroyed by the time I got to Capital Knot with all that rain.
Yeah,
God.
it was. I mean, luckily there were some timefall shelters along the way that stopped that. But okay, were you? They kept saying the chiral printers were offline, but were you able to fabricate equipment before you left Port Knot?
I didn't try even.
No,
I don't think I could.
Okay, yeah, I didn't try, but I was gonna be pretty upset if you could, because like then I would have just crafted 4 quad rocket launchers and brought them, you know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was ready to craft some stuff, but it wouldn't let me.
So we get back to Capital Knot. We head to the president's old room. Lochner goes to give Sam a hug, but you know how Sam is. Hartman says he hasn't been able to find Amelie's beach, that hers is above all other beaches, and she is in control of all of them. So we've got to try and make Amelie see reason, or I'll have to take her down. If I take her down, I won't be able to leave the beach. So we're either going to be stuck there, or we have to make her come to the realization that this is a bad idea. I think it's fitting in this moment. Sam takes the BB off as he prepares to go to Amelie's beach, and Lochner takes the BB. I think it's very fitting of anyone in the room to get that. And with that, Sam is off. We wake up on the beach with a blurry Amelie walking towards us as a baby. She says she'll take us home, that she knows the way. And then she puts us in the water, and we get episode 13, Sam Strand. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So we're on the beach. The ocean is blood red. We can see Earth from the background. We're looking out for Amelie when she starts singing London Bridge, and she's there dressed all in black now. She says the Last Stranding has already begun. We're too late. I have a note. Go ahead.
Is this where she says, what took you so long?
Maybe I don't have exactly.
No, we already.
Well, because this is where I took a note of that. So she must have said it here at some point.
Huh.
I believe you.
But yeah, that was intentional, right?
Probably, because she wants us to stop her from doing her thing, like her big extinction entity thing.
Like that's a Metal Gear Solid.
Like, why did it take you 55 hours to get here?
Oh, I haven't played a lot of Metal Gear Solid, so.
Oh no, that's like a famous line in Metal Gear Solid. What took you so long?
Okay.
And then Snake always replies, "Kept you waiting, huh?"
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be intentional then. Has to be.
Yeah.
So I have a note here that her voice is Bridget's. So when Travis last episode was talking about a different voice for Lochner and Mama, I think he's right. I think there is, even though the same voice actor, I do think there's a maybe a slight difference in the way they deliver their lines. She turns around. She's wearing Die Hardman's mask. We turn around and see Bridget in her medical bed from the beginning of the game. So this is where we get like a lot of these weird scenes of like reliving some of the past things that have already happened. See on the beach. She's been waiting here since that moment. So this Amelie all in black. I have here this Amelie all in black is Bridget. Oh, the notes I wrote down while I was watching these cutscenes.
So for the easiest way to say it is there is no Amelie and Bridget. They're like one person.
Well, it's the Ka and the Ha, right? Of the same extinction entity.
Right. And
Yeah.
but the physical body of Bridget aged, whereas the ha that was on the beach did not.
Right.
And so that was also part of the reason that people posited she was wearing the mask, because maybe she was at the BB experiments under the guise of Amelie, not Bridget. And so she would have needed to wear the mask to not show how aged she was.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities there. It could even be if they were about the same age, not wanting people to say you look identical, like literally
Yeah.
identical, not just like you look a lot like your mom, like I literally identical.
Yeah.
We ask where Amelie is, and she says nowhere, where she's always been, that her daughter Samantha America Strand doesn't exist, at least not in our world. She apologizes for having to wear masks for so long and tells us that Amelie and Bridget are both one. We go to ask questions. She tells us to shut up, that there's no time, and tells us that those were just names. She's an extinction entity, and she gives us two choices. She repeats that the last stranding's begun, a scene connecting her to every beach in the U.S., and it will cause an explosion, another big bang, even, she says. Either we do nothing, stay here with Amelie, and bear witness to the very end, or we kill Amelie and stop the last stranding. She says, live to die another day. Either we cut it now, or we let the world live as long as possible, knowing the sixth will come regardless. And this is the other puzzle moment here at the end of this game. How long, Tom, did this take you?
I don't know how long it took me. It was 4 tries, I think, of the world exploding or whatever the fuck happened.
That sounds about right. That's probably what I did on my first playthrough as well.
Yeah, I think it was also 4 tries for me of either running out of ammo, not figuring this out before I went to Google, like, what do I
didn't end up going to Google. I actually ended up figuring it out, but the reason that I stopped, I probably would have done it in 3, but the third time, as I was getting close to her, I put my gun away, but it must have just been the right, like, the timing was right, and as soon as I put my gun away, the fucking world exploded anyway, so I was like, oh, what the fuck?
I had no idea what to do. I was beyond lost at this moment.
Yeah, my first time I looked it up.
Yeah, I had no clue that you don't need to shoot her. You have to put the gun away and go up and hug Amelie.
Press F to hug.
Press F to
So touching.
Literally, press F to pay respects. You know.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to a real one. Humanity.
F in chat.
I've got to say though, I think in any other game, the choice to have the characters hug, at this moment, would have been a weird choice. But I think for this game, in this moment, even though it's a little bit sort of cliche, it feels right.
What exactly does she say? What is the last thing she says before walking out into the water? Because it's really important. Like it's like something like, how could you not know? It's what you've been doing.
Yeah,
this
because
whole
you're
time.
like, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which,
yeah,
I think it would have been more lasting if they actually made, if he made a separate ending for this, because how many people the first time tried to shoot her in the back of the head? Yeah, okay, so, like, I literally think that not having the weird, like, cut off, like, even when you, like, take the bomb over to the place and it's just black screen reload, like, I feel like he could have just thrown in a weird ending that was total, utter bullshit. Because you've shot her instead. But
Tom, you need to go play Nier Automata.
I started it.
It's real good.
I like that it changes up. Like every time you go someplace, you're overhead flying, side scroller. But yeah.
Yeah, y'all should do a delve. Anyway.
It's up to me.
So after we... Oh, go ahead.
No, just the interesting thing as well about the hugging is it's I think it's made more powerful by the fact that Sam avoids human contact for the entire game.
Mm.
He's not actually
All-
hugging anybody.
Okay, well, let's set that aside
I felt
for a
nothing.
moment. Well, the thing is, I think the impact of it, of what that moment could have been, is also significantly lessened by the fact that Sam is barely half a character. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a fine moment. Yeah, so we hug her, we tell her that we're there for her like she always was for us. And then we get a revisit to the scene where she gives us the dream catcher. Apparently they left a good chunk of that out the first time they showed it to us. Where Amelie tells us we'll need it to find her later in life and to stop her, that we're the only ones who can.
Yep. And that's very important.
Extremely important. We find out that the reason Doom sufferers have terrible dreams is because Amelie intentionally shared them with us. She didn't know which ones to trust, so she shared them with some people. She couldn't connect them because she didn't have a perspective of time. There's no meaning to her with time living on the beach. She has to lock herself away from the rest of us in order to try and spare humanity the worst of the Last Stranding. She can't leave because she is the beach, and she must stay here to make sure the extinction happens, however long it takes, alone.
So what does that mean? She is the beach. I like.
The physical. So if the beach is, I guess, something like if the beach is kind of like the river Styx, she's the farrier of the dead. She makes sure that there is a need for the river.
I don't know. It's just
We
like
just wanted to
it's
see
such
what
a
you would
weird-
say.
It's just such a weird thing to say. Like she is like she's this place she's walking around in, but also the figure that's walking around. Like, I mean, I guess it's not that weird in the grand scheme of things.
Compared to everything else in this game, I mean,
Yeah.
She gets angry at herself that none of this would have happened if she just did her job in the first place. She got tired of waiting, figured no one would be too upset if she just got it all over with, hence her actions throughout this game. But our connections have shown her that we have hope. Our time may be short, but it's a chance to push forward and evolve. That she has to pay the price and be the sacrifice for that to happen, so be it. Even if we aren't together, we'll always be connected. And she lets Sam go back to his own beach.
Okay. So right before she walks out, she's told him about the two choices. Sam pulls out his dream catcher, and she says, "You can." She like, and it's kind of like a little change in tone. She says, "You kept it all this time. Maybe you do have a chance to stop this after all." So it's like not until he busts out the dream catcher that she like gets hope that he does understand there's a third option here. And that's because the dream catcher scene was tied to the scene where she tells him that he's gonna have to stop her from
Right.
doing something. So that's really cool, actually.
Yeah, that is a good connection. Yeah, all right, so we wake up back on our own beach. Everything is black and white except for the red stripe on his clothes, the disconnected stripe.
I think of it as blue, not
Yeah,
black
I
and
have
white. It's absolutely blue to me.
I
It
have
wasn't on my
annoyed-
screen. It was very
Wha-
black and white.
One of my notes for this scene is he blued himself.
Yeah, it's really blue.
Yeah, I mean, on my display, it was black and white.
Yeah,
I
no,
will-
it
very
definitely had
clearly.
it was a
It's
not blue on mine. It was a grayish blue, but
yeah, definitely. But I remember in the one of the trailers for the game where they showed this scene, he was blue in that as well. So he's definitely blue.
So it's just your computer.
At the screen.
Mine.
we wake up. There's the doll that we've all come to know and love with a picture beneath it, and this is where I have the note of duh. Of course, it's his wife. She's pregnant in the photo.
I don't know that we've gotten like that bottom part of the photo up until now, though. Like
I kind of want to replay the
that
beginning of the game to see.
That shows how clearly pregnant she is. Like,
yeah, very clearly pregnant though.
Yeah.
And the revolver there as well. Before we drop, or when did Amelie say a gun won't help you here, but it still has a role to play? Was that as she sent us back?
I think so.
Okay. And we are left in control of Sam as credits start appearing.
And the
Just turn the fucking game off here.
I'll keep coming song keeps that. Don't turn the game off here. Don't listen to Tom. You will miss literally. We'll get there.
This whole section was like like I had no problem with this game, and then I got to this, and I'm like, I want this to fucking end. I'm like, how can I pull this revolver out so that I can shoot myself?
I knew that I could just stand there and do whatever on my other monitor, and then once the credits stopped appearing, you just have to run a few short distance, and then you'll sit down and the flashback will play out.
Well, your first time, this sucks.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
it's still. I still don't love it. Like, I feel like the Heartman shit is priming you for this.
If you want to make this scene more interesting for yourself, just try and count how many credits Hideo Kojima gives himself. And the final count for me was 6.
Wow. There's like that many at the beginning of a mission in Metal Gear Solid 5. Like
So yeah, this is where we get just a bunch of scenes reliving Amelie's and Bridget's scenes with Sam. We get that Amelie is so Ami is French for soul, and then lie. It's a soul lie. And this is exactly where I have the note. Kojima may not be subtle, but he does know how to hide things in plain sight. At first, she thought it was a curse, but then she tried to learn more about the beach. Eventually, she realized the beach was the world of the dead. That means the full knowledge of everything dead and alive could be found with the beach, a history of 4.6 billion years. So all of her research into BBs was a way to research extinction entities and all the extinctions, everything, that 4.6 billion years couldn't write down in a book. Why the previous 5 extinctions? She says the first Big Bang was a fluke. All the antimatter should have just canceled all the antimatter and matter should have canceled each other out, but just enough matter survived. It's like the universe is trying to return us to the nothing that we came from. She thinks that extinction events themselves will be their own undoing, as life always fights back in some fashion. I have this line I really do like. From the ashes of the dead rise the living, stronger and wiser. And extinction is just an opportunity. Those are 2 really good lines in this bit of the game that I like a lot. So she pulled the trigger.
Because one of the things they talk about like leading up to this is that like throughout the like all the previous extinction, like life lived on and evolved, and maybe that extinction was necessary to cause that evolution.
Yeah, that there's that's part of. So when we get things to the Evo Devo biologists, we hear about that extinction entity in the DNA, but also a survival entity, right? So that there's like there's DNA that like wants to end parts of living, and then there's DNA that's like, no, we have to fight through this, evolve, and become better, not just die off.
Yeah.
She says she pulled the trigger twice that day. She knew she made a mistake in search for us until she found us as a baby on the beach and brought us home. Oh God, that should have been a huge red flag. She wanted to set us free from death, but she upset the life-death balance in doing that. We change the last stranding, but we have to cut Amelie off. She didn't make that choice. She can't make that choice herself as an EE. After multiple times trying to leave, getting all these scenes, all this information from Amelie, Sam falls to his knees one last time, pulls the revolver out, puts it to his head, and pulls the trigger. We get a Death Stranding card and then a reconnect with the living prompt.
And
we get-
surprisingly, said Death Stranding card is not accompanied by one that says a Hideo Kojima game.
He missed a real opportunity there. He could have made it a
did.
bigger font, even.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We get London Bridge again, the 5 floating figures over the water.
Which I assume they're supposed to represent the other EEs, right?
Yes. Yeah, now it's like those are the 5 extinct. No?
No.
Now they're representing all of your homies that are standing
Yeah,
around
so-
your body in the living robe.
I like both theories, but if you go into photo mode at this moment and zoom in on these characters as far as you can,
Mhm.
the middle one, the middle silhouette looks like it's holding a baby. The other ones don't, just the middle one. So I think that is one of your friends holding Lou.
Oh, Dead
Okay.
Man, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I like my thought process.
But
better.
yeah, because it's as you get closer, because you have to walk down the beach towards them, right?
Yeah.
And as you get closer to them, you hear more and more of your buddies talking to you.
Right.
And so that, to me, it was just them being represented, like
Oh.
standing around you.
Yeah, I think so, because I have a note here that we see Amelie on her beach. She tells us not to give up, that we're still connected, and she points to those bodies.
Well, don't you see the same
Yeah.
thing in the beginning?
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, and so that's
Well, you don't even
where I
fucking
think
know
that-
these people yet.
that's where I think they're calling out of the previous EEs, or
Okay.
as, like an interesting take.
So we head back out into the water, and hands grab our legs and pull us under with a gotcha. It's a Dead Man with BB pulling us back to the other side.
He just wants to get you back in that shower.
Probably.
I
We
think
get
so.
we've got a repatriate scene, but the BB this time is in black and white. In our stomach.
Oh, by the way, did any of you spot Sam Lake in the credits?
No.
No,
I did. I don't remember what it was for.
I think
But he
he's one
was-
of the preppers.
He is, but I think he was credited for something else as well.
Should I know the name Sam Lake?
Remedy.
Remedy Studios.
Max
Oh,
Payne.
okay. Yeah. All right. Yes, okay. We wake back up with Die Hardman giving a speech from behind a podium with the United Cities of America on it. He speaks to us as the new president and takes off his mask. He has a kipu on his jacket. He says, "Let there be a new America where we can rise above our past and embrace a new future."
And everyone has Kipu.
Yeah, everyone has kipus now.
Everyone or just your friend circle and him?
It seems like everyone in that room that he's giving this speech to does.
Yeah. During this speech, Die Hardman starts to talk about an unnamed, unsung hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, sorry if I could interject here.
No, go for it.
You may think this unsung hero that he's talking about is Sam, but in actual fact, it is Hideo Kojima.
Go on.
True story.
That is all.
That's it. All right. I mean, fair enough.
Okay, so
yeah.
it's all the members of Bridges
Yeah.
that are wearing Kipus.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely thought it was going to be Sam, but then he's like, "It's all of us."
It was the friends we made
unsung
along the way.
hero. Yeah. after the speech, like Dead Man meets us outside as Sam's leaving. He says they used Bridget's umbilical cord to find Sam on the beach, even after they searched for him for a month fruitlessly. It was actually the revolver that was able to identify us. And I rewrote, a gun is of no use here, but it has another purpose. A stick that became a rope.
Yep.
Which I really do like the metaphor of that, especially given that it isn't a video game.
Well, and I mean, if you watch the Tim Rogers review, that it's a quote from a novelist. I think it's like Kobo Abe or something.
Okay.
And Tim kind of low key takes credit for introducing Kojima to this author. So
I have to watch that review now. I haven't been watching it because I didn't want to.
Oh yeah,
spoil
you're
anything.
gonna have to. Yeah, you gotta watch it, dude. So
I have watched his pre-review of Death Stranding.
pre-review?
That was very funny.
So good.
Dead Man gives Sam a really big hug. Tells him he has top secret news. And this was a reveal. Cliff's wife was Lisa Bridges.
Dun, dun, dun. Who is Lisa Bridges?
Sam Bridges' mother.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, I didn't make that connection until one of the cutscenes a bit later on.
Yeah,
Later
yeah,
on, yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
That's right. You know, and to be fair, in the moment, that connection didn't click in my head. But reading it back now, it's like, oh, duh. Die Hardman hit his face so he could get away with the murder of Cliff, even though Bridget ordered him to do it. He was hunted for it.
Yeah. This the speech? Is this
The
the
breakdown.
Just before,
Yeah.
this is Dead Man
Okay.
telling us a few
Okay,
things
yeah,
just
yeah,
before
that's right.
his breakdown. Dead Man says he still doesn't necessarily trust Die Hardman, but will work with him if necessary. And this is when Die Hardman comes out and has his.
Yeah, Sam's trying to leave,
Mhm.
and Die Hardman stops him and gives what is to me the greatest like combination of an acting performance and animation in any video game cutscene. Like
It is really good.
it is absolutely incredible that like the
Yeah.
fact that he wasn't nominated for a game award. Well, it's not surprising. The fact that he was hidden behind a mask for the entire game until these like 2 cutscenes basically and some in the next chapter is a crime, because this is absolutely incredible.
It's
Like,
phenomenal.
Now, I don't. With that said, I don't know if you'll agree with this. On the flip side, his acting is phenomenal. He's one of the best actors in this game. I think this speech, as well acted as it is let down by
the
the
writing.
writing.
I agree 100%, and that's
It's
why I think
too-
it's so incredible, man.
It's-
That's why it's
it's-
such a great performance, is because it does elevate the material quite a bit. I know, Archie. I know. I want to go grab my food too.
Yeah, I mean that is the thing though. It is so wordy and so filled with exposition, and it would have been so much better. Not that it's not great, but it would have been so much better without all that.
Yeah. Without Kojima being Kojima
Yeah.
in the script. Yeah. It could have been shortened probably a little bit. There's a lot of everything after the hug with Amelie. There's a lot of this that could have been cut down, I guess. There's just so much. I mean,
Yeah, we're underselling how much time this all
is like 2 hours at least.
Yeah.
It's so much. And I mean, I didn't see it coming, but I wasn't surprised by it in any way, shape, or form. I know enough about, even though I haven't played a lot of Kojima games, I know the tropes Kojima uses. I've heard enough about Kojima games being in the video game world that I half expected stuff like this, but it is voluminous. There is so much to this end bit. Just like the beginning, the first 2 chapters of this game are like 80% cutscene, and the last 4 chapters of this game are like 80% cutscene.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole sitting on that goddamn beach really just, I honestly, I didn't really give a flying fuck anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, I even put it because I was playing it on Discord. Like I was playing it, and I was like, all right. It was like a fucking hour and a half later before I actually finished the game, and I'm like, I did not touch the controller at all. Like there's that one point where you go in and you have to like fly around in fucking underwater land, and it's just like, I honestly I think I stopped caring about anything they were telling me. It's like,
Well, I mean, they needed to have those absurdly long credits in there, because how else would you know it's a Hideo Kojima game?
But I see my problem is this is why, like, if you made it to this point and you hit that beach, like, this is why I was talking about, like, this is where Tyler would probably be like, I don't really want to play this anymore. And I'm sure he's listening now in some far off land. But I mean, I told him that too. I'm like, there's a lot where you're not even doing anything. Like, you just put the controller down and it's like, this is a lot.
Yeah.
Like, can I play now? Can I play the game, please?
Yeah.
Let me play the game.
They could have sold Death Stranding as the first bi-media trilogy, where it's a movie and then a video game and then a movie again.
And the answer, Tom, is literally no. You can't play the game anymore until the credits roll.
I know, and that's like my problem with it. Like I had zero problems with this game whatsoever. Like, yeah, it was a slow start. There's a lot of stuff going on, and now it ends on that same freaking note, where it's like, oh my god, like I want to play.
You went on a similar arc to a lot of people, like that. A lot of people did it. Really.
Yeah, well, I mean, it makes sense. Like, I wish that it wouldn't have. I wish I would have. After the whole beach scene, I wish I would have just stopped and then came back. Yeah, but I don't even think you can.
All right, here's my way to fix the beach scene. Remove the credits, make it so you only have to move once. You get all the Amelie cutscenes in one go, and then once you're let free to walk again, you walk into the water and Die Hardman pulls you down.
But do you even need all those little scenes? Like, it's all stuff that already happened. Like,
No. There's a lot of information in those little scenes. Why not just show those, at the point that she tells them to you, instead of cutting? Like, because that's all said when she says, there's no time for questions, Sam. You have to listen. Like, everything you see on the beach is what she tells you between there and her saying, so, there are 2 options. Why not just show it right there? Like, why not? Like, why did it have to be done that way?
Yeah, that could work too. I think we can all agree, though, that there's a better way to do it than what actually got done.
Yeah, but I mean, even going further along, like the whole stuff that happens with Unger, with Cliff, is like, you're watching all of these, like, there's other parts into it, yes, but you're watching all of these same goddamn scenes that you had to watch going up that goddamn elevator. And it's like,
we'll get
why? Why?
Yeah. I like that, though. I actually like that part. I
did
like,
not.
because I like the way that it puts everything in a timeline. And oof, man, because at that moment you're having all these thoughts about all the reveals that just happened over the last 2 hours.
Okay, we're
pieces.
almost there. We're almost there.
We're almost there. We're almost there. So Die Hardman comes up to us amidst a murder, says he did it for her, Bridget, because he loved her. But Cliff saved his life. He's called Die Hardman because Cliff wouldn't let him die.
So fucking dumb.
Okay.
Why isn't his name Chicken Man or something then?
Why isn't his name Cliff Won't Let Me Die Hard Man?
Brought his sorry ass home every time, and he loved him as much as he loved her. He falls to his knees crying. This really is an emotional scene. He says he knew Cliff came to kill him to make it right, and why shouldn't he? Why didn't he? He couldn't save BB, and that's what brought him back. Die Hardman thinks that when Cliff saw him doing his part for America, he remembered who he was and he forgave him. But John can't forgive himself and doesn't think he deserved it, that there's no atoning for what he did. Sam helps him up off the floor. He says this may be the next best thing, that maybe he brought him back from the beach one last time for a reason. He wanted him to do this, to keep on being Die Hard Man.
Now, this is where Norman Reedus actually starts acting well,
Yeah.
which was a surprising turn of events, in my mind.
That's the real winning part of the game, is he starts to act now that the game's over.
Yeah.
Sam tells him no, nobody wants a president who acts immortal. That if you aren't scared of death, how can you value life? And life is pretty fragile right now. Yeah, the old
fragile.
Yeah, the old ways die hard. But
he says pretty fucking fragile right now.
That's true.
And yeah, I wish I was a dead man. And
but I'm not that fragile.
If I were a dead man. That's the song, right?
It sounds right.
But at least I've got heart, man.
God. But that's what's going to have to happen if we're going to come together and build a better America. Sam hands Die Hardman the revolver, telling him that gun won't help you here, and that's her words, not mine. Die Hardman thanks Sam and is left in a little bit better state than before. At least I think so. I think honestly, I think in that 1 minute scene, Die Hardman like falls to pieces and begins reconstructing himself all at the same time.
Yeah.
Dead Man unlinks our cuffs and tells us Bridges won't be able to locate us until we hit the incinerator. Before we leave, we turn and give Dead Man a hug and thank him for everything. Fragile is there and has a nice new suit. She has decided to follow her father's dreams, and the UCA has her back as the first government-backed delivery company. She didn't shoot Higgs. She let him choose death or eternal solitude on the beach. As Sam leaves, Fragile she calls to him, but he doesn't turn around. A crypto bio is floating by. Sam grabs it and then lets it go, which I kind of read as a symbol of him moving on from even the connections he made throughout his journey. What did you guys kind of make of that?
I kind of read it as something to do with what I was saying earlier about him accepting the crypto bytes to make Fragile feel better. And he no longer cares about that. So he's like, I don't actually like these things, so I'm not going to eat this.
Okay. Tom, do you have any ideas about that crypto bio?
I figured he just didn't give a flying fuck anymore. Because we didn't even say, like, Blue's basically dead. Like, that's why you're going to the incinerator.
Yeah.
You didn't even bring that up.
I am about to. I don't want to talk about it, Tom. It makes me sad. Yeah, it's time for one more delivery for Lou to the incinerator. I don't know about y'all, but I walked this journey really slowly.
I walked it very quickly.
Yeah, I ran the fuck as fast as I could.
But the song ended just as I got to the incinerator, so it was perfect.
Yeah, this is my favorite song, and I totally forgot about the song. Like, but this is my favorite song in the game for sure. Like, BB's theme, and the first time I bawled my eyes out the entire way there, because this was what 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and you were a different man.
No, my daughter was like 2, basically had just turned 2 when this came out. And yeah, I absolutely fucking lost it the entire way there, not knowing what was gonna happen, knowing, but like still like thinking there's a chance that something bad would happen.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely did not feel that in the only game that made me feel like is when my daughters were born. I played The Last of Us in that first like 10 minutes. That's the only thing that's ever pushed me in a video game. Otherwise, I'm like, this is a video game.
That's fair.
Yeah, near Automata again.
I mean, to be fair, Tom, I cried when they killed Bloodwing in Borderlands 2, so I
So you were just a crybaby.
maybe, all right, but I played 1,000 hours of Mordecai with Bloodwing, all right? I was really upset when they killed that bird.
Have access to my emotions, yes.
Yeah, he tells Lou time for one more delivery. We get episode 14 Lou, and my note here is, well, something I didn't want to have to do at all this game. It's time to put Lou to rest.
But really, if you think about it, it's your second trip to the incinerator with Lou.
That's true.
And neither time do you put him in there.
But, I mean, you come pretty darn close this time, but not before we get we get to the incinerator and like we plug in before we actually walk into the incinerator.
Yeah, we knock on the pod, see if Lou's there, and nothing comes up. We jack in one last time as we thank him for everything. Oh boy,
game over, right?
You
wish.
wish.
Time for another hour of cutscenes as all of those, every single one of these BB dreams we've had every time we jack in.
Not all of them.
Well, true, not all of them. A
like
good
the
portion of them.
champagne ones, the Santa ones, like those ones where he's like arriving on a different night. But all of the ones that did take place on this one particular day.
Yeah, we get to relive Cliff being told by John that now's his chance to take BB. His family doesn't deserve this. That John's like overridden the security systems. He has 5 minutes to make sure his wife finally rests in peace and take BB and leave this facility. We get the scene of security chasing him down, of him being hidden behind the door. Are there any like highlight points y'all want to talk about here? Because I think I have like everything point for point, but we don't have to talk point for point.
Mads Mikkelsen is the highlight point.
Yeah,
for me in general.
I think the way that he like gives a deep breath and gathers himself and then goes to the supplies cabinet to like make a makeshift silencer like is it's all really well done. I think that just really struck me this time for some reason.
Yeah, and I think like just in a general sense in these scenes with his composure and the way he performs, that you really buy into this character. He has that sort of aura around him of like a captain who had like these men serve under him. He has that kind of composure.
Yeah, he sells the character. I don't see Mads Mikkelsen when I'm watching these scenes. I see Clifford Unger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll skip to the end. So Cliff has made his way back to the same room. He tells his wife that he's sorry he couldn't do the job and keep their family safe as security is trying to beat the door down. Cliff tells BB not to worry, that he'll always be with him, and begins singing him the lullaby. Sam is standing between security and Cliff when the door opens. Now, no one can see Sam. Sam just is seeing this from out-of-body experience, kind of. Sam tries to stop them, but again, they don't even know he's really there. John rushes into the room as Cliff says his little father speech. I was so scared when I found out I was going to be a dad. John sits Cliff up. Bridget comes in the room and takes BB. But turns out it was just an empty pod, and Cliff took BB out and held him as he said, "Be free." John stands up and points the revolver at Cliff and tells him he needs to hand him the BB. Sam jumps between John and Cliff. Bridget orders John to shoot. The scene then pauses in this moment.
So at this time, though, do you think Sam, he's trying to stop it because he thinks it's Lou, right? It's not because he thinks it's him.
No, I think he knows at this point.
I don't think that he does.
I mean, he did hear that the wife was Lisa Bridges, and he knows he's Sam Porter Bridges.
Maybe he's not very
Yeah, I mean,
smart.
I don't know why, but I the impression I got was that he was didn't want to shoot Cliff.
Yeah, that was the impression I got
yeah,
too.
that was me too. Yeah.
So I figured it was just because of that he's going to burn Lou's body in the incinerator, that he was thinking he was more trying to stop them from shooting the baby. 'Cause, I mean,
Both.
Cliff was already fucking, he's probably already done anyway because he already got clipped in the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Right, so the scene pauses. And
I'll
Cliff's...
be right back.
Go ahead. Cliff says, "They told me your name was Sam Porter, but you're Sam Bridges. My son, the bridge to the future. Without you, I was just like any other Cliff, a dead end, no way forward, only an obstacle. Dividing people was the only thing Cliff was good at. But not you, Sam. You bring people together. You're their bridge to the future and mine."
I love this scene so much.
Oh, God, it's so good.
Like, just the Cliff all of a sudden being aware of Sam's presence and addressing him, and them having this moment,
Mm-hmm.
just phenomenal.
Really good, yeah. And it's also mind-blowing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, half of these notes are written in all caps because I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh man, was it more, did you get to like emotionally enjoy the scene more this time around, James, over your first time, because you might have been a little bit lost in those reveals the first time, but this time you knew those reveals, so you got to just soak the scene up, do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe. Although this time around, I did know there was some connection between the two. But I was starting to doubt myself because it hadn't come up yet.
Mm.
So I was still trying to figure some stuff out. But yeah, I think not having the mystery as much definitely like helped me connect with the scene more.
Almost makes me want to play it again.
When
Almost.
the director's cut comes out.
Yeah, wait a wee while.
Yeah. He has Sam stand up and he gives him BB. Sam asks if this is him. With no response, this Cliff takes off his dog tags and puts them around Sam and then hugs him. And the scene unpauses to show Bridget pulling the trigger of the gun John was holding. So I know John beats himself up for killing Cliff, but should he?
He shouldn't, but I can understand why.
Yeah.
Like, if you put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, I get
You're
it, but
gonna-
at the
you're-
same
yeah.
time.
You're going to feel like there's some way you could have stopped that from happening.
Mm-hmm. Where am I? Yeah, pointing at Cliff, who drops so Cliff drops to the ground. BB also falls with blood on the ground. Bridget falls to the floor and literally screams over BB. As we come back to the water as a repatriate, we see live sea life and a dead floating Cliff. And a black and white BB laying on the beach as Amelie picks him up and calls him Sam with a gunshot wound in his stomach that she seals in the scar we all know so well on his
Finally,
stomach.
an explanation.
Yep.
But
Okay, but
doesn't answer why Cliff had that same scar when you meet him the first time.
Well, because he also got shot.
But not
more than once.
in the belly button.
No?
And
I
why
mean,
would he
I
be?
suppose he
Because
could have,
died
but
he died in that scene, right? So why would he have that like healing scar?
I don't
Other than
know.
just as a visual way to say there is a connection between Sam and Cliff.
I mean, I guess that could just be what it was in the beginning, that they were just trying to say that there's some connection, which is, I mean, I made that connection because they both had that scar. But
One thing
know.
I did want to point out, like from these scenes, is that I really noted this time that I think the moment that Cliff's connection, like the strong connection that made him stick around and be on these combat beaches, happened when he, like right before he, had um, took took Lisa took Lisa's life. He said he would take care of BB. He would do whatever it takes to take care of BB. And it, like, there was a sting in the music that hit in a particular way that was like, oh, this is the moment that strong connection that kept him tethered to the beach happened.
That makes sense. Yeah, so they talk about the strong emotions, but like I'm sure Tom and Travis could talk to that. If you made a promise like that to your wife about your child, that would be a something you don't let go of easily.
Right, yeah.
Where was I? Right. Yeah, so Amelie picks up Sam, heals him. We repatriate with the doll inside of us as Cliff looks on from the water, still dead but not letting go. Amelie says, "Let's go home. It's okay. I know the way." And she lays him in the water as Cliff watches from a distance. And the astronaut we all know and love floats in the water in BB's vision. BB awakes in his mother's room looking at John stare at him. Bridget is there and welcomes him back. John says, "You know his days as a BB are over now that his connection to the other side has been severed." Bridget says, "It was me who cut the cord, so yes." So that means John knew the entire time, right? That there was
Yeah.
some weird thing with Bridget and the beach anomaly.
Even though he pretended he didn't know? Or...
And had to research to find out later on in his life?
I don't know. Space magic.
A deathless repatriate in the world of the living. Should we decommission him? John asks. Bridget says, "In a manner of speaking, take him out of the pod. I'll raise him as my own." Which I did say in the first episode. I don't think Bridget is Sam's real mom. He's his adoptive mom. I'm giving myself a point for that one.
Okay, well, your point system matters as much as the point system in Ys. So
that's fine. That's fine. I'm giving myself a point on my.
You get 80 points
system.
for talking.
And then we come back to Sam as he was at the incinerator. We see the incinerator burn away the cuffs and an empty BB pod with Sam standing there trying to wake Lou up. As a BT umbilical cord forms around Lou, Sam tries everything he can think to get Lou to wake up.
He's trying to warm him up. You know, if he would have just left him in the incinerator, he would have warmed up. Like, right?
I just want to point out, like he's there with Lou in his hands for an uncomfortable amount of time, trying to wake him up.
Quite some time. To the point where I have the note, like, this is kind of hard to watch. Like, he holds Lou to his chest, realizing it's probably too late, and begins to cry.
Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
Is there any connection, do you think, with him holding Lou in that way to when he was also holding Lou on the beach earlier in the game?
Ooh. Maybe.
Because it was a similar kind of...
Yeah, because after he holds Lou that way is when Lou disappears, and then like BT walks down his leg. So maybe that there's like that scene in the beginning of the game is some foreshadowing to that moment of Lou being on the line of...
Yeah, maybe on the beach, him disappearing, or Lou disappearing, is also Lou waking up in the real world.
Could be. Yeah, finally leaving that middling world between the living and dead, and waking
Yeah.
up on one side.
But you're not
like
it.
you're not
Layers.
naked right now, so.
You are under your clothes. Yeah, and then Lou begins to cry and is holding a kipu as several baby BTs look on above them. Maybe I have a note here. Maybe Amelie did one last thing for Sam. What do you think? Did Lou come back of their own volition,
So
or
if she did that again, isn't everything gonna get super fucked up again? Because isn't that why everything started? Because she brought Sam back to life. Like that's when shit started getting real bad.
maybe I don't
Well,
know. If
I
that's
swear
the
they
one.
say it. It's like that was the problem. It's where everything started going real, and the BTs started popping up all over. It's after she brought Sam back.
Yeah, they definitely say that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, how else are we going to get a Death Stranding 2?
No, we already decided there isn't supposed to be a Death Stranding 2.
All right. So Lou just came back then.
Who knows? I mean, there's no evidence to support, at least I can see, that Amelie had anything to do with that.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's also no evidence to suggest that that wasn't the case.
Yeah, maybe Cliff brought him back.
Because my understanding of the broader things happening was that it wasn't like Sam specifically, it was everything else. It was getting involved with the Doom Sufferers and spreading her dreams to them, and getting involved with Cliff and Higgs and the broader picture, not strictly that one Sam moment. But I could be wrong. I mean, there's a lot of interpretation to be had in the last 10 hours of this game.
Yeah.
The entire game.
Actually, all 55 hours of this game. Sam leaves the incinerator as it's raining, but he doesn't have his hood up and his hair isn't turning gray. The sun shines. We see a rainbow in its normal orientation for the first time the whole game, and birds begin chirping in the background. Fade to black.
The rainbow has blue in it as well.
Mm.
That's because you're not blue anymore. So you gave your blue back to it after you got done bluing yourself.
Probably.
That's been the delve on Death Stranding, everybody.
Wait, there's still a few more notes.
Oh, no.
Fade to black.
There's
Finally
2 more
proper
hours of
credits.
cutscenes.
No, there's not 2 more hours of cutscenes.
So, I have, for this final roll of credits,
Mm-hmm.
the Hideo Kojima credit count coveted. And it is, this time, 5. There are 5 Hideo Kojima credits in this credit sequence alone.
So he discredited himself. Wasn't it 6 before?
It was 6 in the previous one, yes.
So he discredited himself 1.
Yeah. So that's 11 altogether, just for the ending of the game. That's not counting at the start of the game. Also, I noticed they tell you who acted in this game a lot.
Yeah.
Almost as much as they tell you who made the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, every time we met a new regular face, Dead Man, Die Hard Man, it would say, you know,
Yeah, it would say their name and it
Martin
would sell
Qualley.
their actor's name, or actress.
The credits stop. We have a mid-credits cutscene. Sam's hand on the picture. As Lou's hand reaches up, Sam goes, Lou! And then corrects himself. Louise.
That's how I'm going to do my kid's gender reveal party.
I definitely cried again the first time I played this when that hit, because like we were sure we were gonna have a boy until we had the gender reveal, and I really wanted a boy, but like I've been happy to have a girl, and so like that hit me super hard.
Well, it only took me 3 tries, so you know.
I got
and-
the old snippy snip, buddy.
They can undo that.
Louise's hand reaches up to Phil Sam's, and we finally get the final round of credits. Before coming back to our private room, episode 15. The future is in your hands. 2 weeks before the president's inauguration, we are free to make deliveries.
I like how it just says kill time until the inauguration.
Yep.
Yep. And that is
Sorry.
everything. No, go ahead.
How long did you guys run around trying to kill time until the inauguration until you realized that the inauguration was not coming?
Oh, I figured it was just this is, the game's over now. You can just do whatever the fuck you want.
Okay.
I didn't think it would
Yeah.
actually.
Well, no,
I mean,
that's-
that was
that's
actually my
the-
other question. Was like, has anybody is there an actual time frame that passes that something would happen?
no, there's no
Okay.
that's the
inauguration.
thing. No, there is an inauguration. It happened. Like that's what we're watching. That's the Die Hard.
Right. No, that's what
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying
it
though.
takes
Like,
you back.
is there an actual if you actually keep playing past that, is there like a little ticker that actually ends up popping up? Not like the full scene
No,
over
because
again.
chapter
but-
15 takes place after chapter 14, or like
Yeah.
before chapter 14 chronologically.
Yeah.
This game's enough of a mess already. With
Yeah,
the timelines.
I mean, for all we know, the time's already all over the place anyway. So.
I mean, I knew immediately. I read this as this is the game re-rolling to before my final decision,
Right,
so I
so,
can continue to play it.
You're back before the point of no return,
Hmm.
which coincidentally was our ending of basically last episode.
Yeah, and that does it. That's all of Death Stranding. We have a few more questions from our lovely community. Alex writes in and asks, "What was your favorite traversal mechanic in this game?"
Zip lines.
Figured.
I like
Walking. Yeah.
Good old fashioned walking.
Yeah. I still choose to walk all the time in this game. Like I don't know.
I mean, that's not my favorite. I did it a lot, but yeah, definitely zip lines were the most fun to use.
Mm.
Like
I'm
my
almost
leg. I
surprised
guess
you
I
didn't
don't
say-
really think that my legs are fun to use because I walk myself all over the place anyway.
You know, I might say actually the reverse strike. Like I
Yeah.
like picking my way through a shitty area with the reverse strike, especially when I figured out how to wheelie 45 hours into the game.
I never figured that out.
I was
left
wheeling
click,
right off the
James.
bat.
Left click, hold left click.
Okay. The reverse strike is frustrating. Like I cannot getting caught on rocks. Like driving it down a road, that's perfectly fine. But getting caught on rocks constantly, not for me.
Yeah, I'd rather walk than ride. I didn't really care much for the driving mechanics in this game.
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean, I did a lot of driving, but I would, once I got to a point where the road wasn't usable, I'd walk basically every time. So.
Yep.
Let's see. We've got a couple questions from Rob. What's your read on the ending of the game? Did it deliver a meaningful experience for you?
No. The meaningful experience was delivered in the first half of this this podcast.
Pun intended.
James?
Yes, possibly.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Maybe. Nah.
It's no The Last of Us Part 2, but it's an interesting game.
Mm-hmm. Tom?
Nah, there was no meaningful impact for me.
Fair enough. I don't know that I'd say it delivered a meaningful experience, but there were certainly meaningful moments.
Yeah, I gotta say there were definitely impactful moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just not the end of the game.
But like Barry, like the moment with Die Hardman, like that's a meaningful moment, even if it doesn't have a broader meaningful, even if it doesn't calculate to a broader meaningful experience with the entire story. That is a a powerful and meaningful moment for me. I really like that a lot. There's a lot of moments in the end of this game that I like a lot, but I think the end of this game answers a lot of questions that you have throughout your experience, but I don't think it ties the whole experience to something more meaningful. I think it just delivers meaningful moments.
Didn't care for the plot. Didn't care for the plot, I think is what we're all saying.
The most meaningful, impactful moment, I think, was hopping in that shower with Guillermo.
Could it be?
Could be. And I think for the first half of that question, what's your read on the ending of the game? Honestly, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think Kojima's like point out to like his the moral of the story is that
you always leave a note.
No. Here I'll quote a movie. Life finds
You don't watch movies.
I know the scene.
Stop throwing up this malarkey.
Right? It's that, even when faced with ridiculous adversity, life finds a way to go on. I think that is the moral of the story.
But
Kojima
only
tried
through
to sell
human
us.
connection. But only through human connection. That is absolutely like part of the story.
So not dinosaurs?
Sure. Dinosaur DNA.
I think the moral of the story is always tip your delivery drivers.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Tom, Travis, did you have a moral or a read on the ending like that?
Pretty much what I said. Like, human connection, connection, not destruction.
Stay out of the rain.
The stick that became a rope.
I can see clearly now.
You can be fragile, but not that fragile.
You can take my heart and hold it together as we fall apart. That's a lyric from the church's song that plays during the credits.
Rob has one more question. Have you finished your paperwork to now become a mail delivery person? And when do you start? Next week, Thursday is my first day. I'm waiting for the background check to clear, but looks like I should be good.
No.
Yeah.
I've thought about it because they are hiring here, but I don't want to do that.
I just want to ask Rob, what's his deal, man?
How dare you?
That's my line.
That's my question to Rob. How dare you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would fail every requirement.
And we have one from Grindhouse on Twitter. Thanks for reaching out. What did each of you put for your month and day for the Doom's astrology sign thing at the beginning of the game? I remember checking strats the first time, and again the second time, seeing what the best month data input. No one really knows what this means still years later. The only thing I know that correlates to is you get a birthday cake in your private room on that day. But other than that, I have no idea.
So
I just put in my birthday.
I also put in my birthday.
Yeah, that's all I did.
So I guess we all should remember to jump back on Death Stranding on our birthdays. Because, we don't have better things to do.
Might as well visit MGS5 while you're at it.
Is there something with Metal Gear Solid 5?
Yeah, that also has a...
Or I'll just start the game over and I'll put it as tomorrow, and then I'll just...
There's a birthday cake in MGS5, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well, that just about does it. We do like to give things scores here. And this game, for me, is a 9.25 out of 10. This is winding up on my top 10 games of all time. I can't believe I waited this long to finally play it to the finish. I have been in arguments with myself for the last 2 weeks since I roll credits about if this is my period favorite open world game. It might be. I adore this game. Warts and all. I don't have a lot of gripes about this game, but warts and all, I adore this game.
Gameplay 10 out of 10. Do I have to score the plot?
Well, what would you?
Characters 8 out of 10.
Mhm.
Plot 5. World building 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
So that's it.
average that out, and that's your score.
Uh,
It's like an 8.7, 8.5.
24, 32 divided by 4, about an 8. 8, 16, 24, something like that. 8 and change, 9.
world building 10. Yeah.
I
So an 8. Sure.
I give it a 5 out of 7. Perfect score.
How is it with rice, though?
I'd probably 8.75, 9. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to, and there was definitely a lot of stuff it threw in that I didn't expect, especially just the gunplay. And then there was just nice little moments where it was a game that was different, despite the goddamn end beach, and then it just kind of killing my motivation. It's still a good game. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed
actually, I'd like to change my score. I would give it a Hideo Kojima out of 10.
Would that be
5 or 6?
6, yeah, exactly. 6 Hideo Kojima credits, or only 5?
The beach version or the full ending version?
Or are you combining them and giving it an 11 Hideo?
I think I'd give it
Kojimas
the
out
cup
of
of
10?
11 Hideo Kojimas out of 10.
Okay.
Wow, it's hard to come by. Well, that does it. Thanks everyone for joining us on this delivery adventure. Thanks so much, Travis and James, both for coming on and playing this along with us.
Thank you, Ryan, for doing the yeoman's work of summarizing this game.
Yeah, good lord.
You did a great job, and I just want to give you a huge shout out for that, because
What a
it is
monumental
not
task.
easy. Absolutely. So
Thank you.
So big ups, dog.
I don't know how you didn't drink more water.
It's just talking. I took I got a full bottle of water.
Oh man,
when
we got done with the ghost dive, I would just chug water when I was done. Like my throat would just hurt the next day. And that was like 4 hours, 3 hours, and another 3 hours.
Something like that. I listening back to the first episode. By the end of that, I was like, oh god, I'm like my words. I'm starting to talk over myself. But it was a blast. I'm really glad we got to do this. But I think it's time we should do some plugs. James.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Well,
he wants to plug Hideo Kojima.
Of course. I want
About
to
11
plug
times.
Kojima. No, I mean, thanks for having us on for this. This was a lot of fun. Yeah, so I do a YouTube channel and a podcast with some friends over at PS Premiere. We do reviews for video games. We do feature type content, reaction streams, and like I said, a weekly podcast. A lot of fun stuff. And if you think that I'm a little annoying, then still check it out, because I assure you there are other more entertaining people than me on that channel.
It is a fun time. In fact, this is probably going to be out after we do it, but we're going to be doing a reaction for the E3 PC event, which I'm very excited for. Yeah, a blast. Travis, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I'm on a podcast called Draft Punks, where 4 people draft 5 things each from a new topic each week. And we also have a Twitch channel. You can find us at Real Draft Punks there, and on pretty much all social media platforms. And look for me on Spelunkers podcast product sometime in the near future on a different Spelunkers product.
I wonder what that could be.
I don't know.
Tom,
That's me.
it's you. You've got at least one thing you could plug, right?
Yeah. Every Saturday, we have our Wasted series. Tyler and I play games drunk. We are now on It Takes Two, so we have delightfully called it Takes Brews. We're past the first two areas. It's a lot of fun. Come watch it so that Tyler doesn't cry.
Fun. It was very fun. You had a lot of viewers. A lot of people came out.
Yeah,
You even pointed that out. People must not like Wasteland.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, and that was a ball playing that too. So I don't know. I think we'll build speed. You know, it was a fun time getting drunk playing video games.
It looked like a blast.
Yeah, it does look like a fun time. You're making me want to play that game, but I need someone to play it with.
Actually, you could play it with me or Tyler when we're done, or anytime, because you only need a copy of game, and then the other person can play for free.
Yeah, I'd love to do that at some point.
Except that Tyler didn't think about that and bought the game too, so now we both have the game.
Yeah, fantastic. And in 2 weeks, Tom, myself, and the full Spelunkers crew, Chris and Tyler, will be back with... Oh, there it is. It's hard to see. Okami.
I definitely cannot see that that's Okami.
It doesn't make sense.
It actually kind of looks like a Final Fantasy VII screenshot.
It's Okami. You got the little red circle with Okami in the bottom corner.
It could be Shinra.
That's Cloud looking up at Shinra headquarters.
Totally, that's what that's all I saw.
I promise it's Okami.
The band will be back together again.
Yes, the full squad will be back. We'll be recording the first chunk of that on June 24th. We're going up to just before the Gale Palace. Is that right? That sounds right.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
Yeah,
What's in the
that's right.
announcements?
That's
the Gale Palace. Yep. Gale Shrine.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Gale Shrine. That's what
it was. Mm-hmm. If you want to listen to us before then, Chris and myself every Sunday release an episode of Gotta Rank 'Em All, our Pokemon ranking show. Where we get a guest every week and randomize a list of 20 Pokemon and put them in the most officially arbitrary list of all time. Until
how many Pokemon in are you?
Just shy of 200, 180 something.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're
so
like
we're making
fifth of the way there, just about.
Yeah, just about. It's been an absolute blast. I really love that podcast so much.
Me too.
So until we meet again on another piece of Spelunkers podcast, I hope everyone is well. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.